You got the
Okay, we're
himbos
live.
from.
Oh my
Oh,
god. Hey
oh.
everybody. Welcome to an experimental live stream. What we are
Mm-hmm.
calling OSP After Dark. Um w- uh let's see. Is anyone awake?
Red and Indigo talking on the VOD the next day. Oh, we got one.
We got
We're
one.
good.
We
Oh,
got. Oh,
people are
okay.
spawning in
There they are.
chat.
There they are. They found
Okay.
us. All right. Hold
Okay,
on.
good.
Hold on. Let me grab this sweet tasty link and then tweet it out. Oh my
Amazing.
goodness. Hello everybody. My name is Markiplier. Welcome back to. Okay. Sorry. We are doing a brand new stream format. We are doing OSP After Dark, an experimental stream format wherein Indigo and I
Ew.
just kind of shoot the shit well past our bedtimes. Let me just figure out how to tweet this. Where?
And while Red figures out how to tweet this, I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to be shooting the shit about today so that we can multitask like pros.
Just sorry, just to be sure, everyone can anyone in chat? Can everyone in chat hear
Yes.
Indigo? Say banana in chat if you can
Ooh.
hear Indigo.
Oh, hello. Oh, why? Oh, you're requesting that they spam chat? I
Hell
can't
yeah, I am.
condone that. I can't condone this.
All right, let me just tweet that sucker and oh, perfecto.
Oh,
Wow, this is more people than
wunderbar.
I expected.
Well, when you put the word himbo out into the internet, it sort of just summons the masses, you know? It's like sending out the bat signal. Because you know whatever is about to happen next is gonna be
I
good.
mean, I guess. Jeez. Wow.
I'm so
This
excited for this, and like words cannot explain how much fun I'm about to have with whatever we talk.
Yeah, this is gonna be exciting. Yeah, so I will say that I am new to using Streamlabs, and it is entirely possible that I will get too frustrated trying to add images of all our beefy boys to this tier list. But oh, sorry, we're getting audio feedback from Blue. Just a second. I'm
Oh,
gonna
spicy.
I'm gonna nudge you down a skosh. Apparently, you're a little bit louder than me,
Oh,
and we
that's
can't have
understandable.
that.
Do I need to adjust my gain, Red?
I don't know. You tell me.
No, I think it's a Streamlabs thing. Either super fun
Yeah.
times along the way. Yeah, so what we're doing today while we were figuring all this stuff out is it's very free form sitting hanging out and chatting between Red and I, but we also have decided to use our super scientific research to compile a list of iconic himbos from
Mm-hmm.
throughout media, some classic entries, some from shows and stuff that we just particularly like and are ready to defend. And we're gonna rank them in one of these classic tier lists that you all know and love from like Reddit and stuff.
Yeah.
With of course S tier being the best and F tier being the worst. Oh man, guys, there are so many himbos out there, and I am so excited to talk about them.
So many beefy boys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
see. You sent me the himbo tier list, and I believe
I
accessing
did.
it will not cause my computer to spontaneously combust. I've never run the Streamlabs side of things before. It's way scarier than I realized.
Yes, Red
Oh
is playing a fun game called Running Tech Support on.
God. I'm never bullying Blue about this again, I swear. I've had a change of heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
Christmas every day from now on. Alrighty.
All
Okay.
right.
So is the okay, this list you sent me, is this in any kind of order or is this just in the
Not
order you wrote
really.
them? Okay.
This is just the order that they popped into my head, so or people suggested them to me. I did tweet out requesting himbos
Mm,
yesterday, and I was very pleased with how many people responded with himbos.
yep.
So we can mix up the order. Maybe we go from the bottom and work to the top, or vice versa.
I'm already at
Whatever's
the top.
easiest. Well, then
Okay.
we'll work from the top down. Uh,
Oh, hello, Blue. Commenting
yes.
in the group chat to say welcome to my hell. Oh no.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, chat. Yes, chat. Kronk is on the list. What do you
Come
take
on,
us for?
guys.
You know what? In fact, just to make this okay,
Should we
okay.
just go ahead?
I'm just here's the thing. I'm not sure if it'll be easier to uh the easiest thing for me to do would be to add a text box that says Kronk, which means I wouldn't need to deal
Sure.
with the source adding of images and such. And besides, we all know who the fuck Kronk is. Come on, guys.
Yeah. We'll talk about our sweet beefy boys as they appear as well to kind of in case you're not sure who they are, but for the sake of the image on the stream, we can just throw the text of their name once we place them on the chart.
Let's see. Oh god, this is so frustrating.
Should
I'm
we
gonna
do
name
a
this.
practice round with the one that I feel like we can both kind of agree is very easily placed in S tier? You know, Kronk is he's the blueprint for
Yep.
himbos. I feel like it's not a very debatable option to put him up top.
I'm naming this source Himbo one. Kronk.
Oh, yes.
Oh god, can chat see me doing this? Terrifying, thank you.
I'm watching the stream and I don't believe I can see you doing this, so I think you are all
Congrats, it's
good.
Kronk. Oh, by the way, yes,
Who is
chat, you can
Kronk?
see. What? How dare you? Kronk is from the Emperor's New Groove, the finest media ever made.
He's the one who makes the spinach puffs,
Yeah, the
and he
delicious
pulls the
spinach
wrong
puffs.
lever,
Yep, Kronk is the
and
wrong lever
he
boy. Uh,
mm-hmm.
and
Pull
it
the lever, Kronk.
wrong lever. Everybody should watch that movie, and I can't believe you're here
Yes.
watching this stream instead of that movie. Frankly speaking, like, geez, 2,000 of you who thought this
Oh
was a better
man.
use of your time than watching acclaimed media Emperor's New Groove. Oh boy, oh boy.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm watching our feed stream side, and Kronk's text has appeared on the tier list. So I
Beautiful.
believe that we have a system that will
Oh
work.
god, hold on, I just moved something. What did I just? Eh. Oh, okay. It was the. We're good. It was the overlay layer. We're fine. Behold my power. I can move Kronk around on the screen a little bit. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Oh
Alrighty.
man.
So, shall we
Okay.
justify our placement of Kronk as the
Yes.
S
I
tier
believe
himbo?
in justifying Kronk's placement, we also have to consider that this is probably because Kronk is by many circles considered the blueprint for himbos,
Oh
and so
yes.
to just justify his placement, I think it's less about justifying placing him in S tier and more about explaining what exactly the qualities we look for in a himbo are, because Kronk epitomizes them. So
Mm.
therefore, we can use him to as a point of comparison for some of the more questionable himbos on this list.
Yeah. Yeah, so as all of you who have watched Emperor's New Groove would know, Kronk is defined by being basically Dorito shaped, very dumb, and immensely good of heart, to the point where the plot of the movie wouldn't have happened were he not such a good, sweet boy, despite the fact that he works for the most
Hmm.
obviously evil person on the planet.
He's
Himbos do not have to be good judges of character. They simply have to be
mm-mm.
kind. Oh, hold on. Was that blue I just
They
spotted?
must be.
Oh, wait, no. That
Oh
was just
no.
somebody tagging us. How confusing. Okay, we're good.
Yes. Yes. I believe, himbos can be summed up as being both pure of heart and dumb of ass, but
Yes.
also 6 feet tall and super strong, and we always get along, as the TikTok audio says. I don't know what song it's actually from, but I do know that my For You page keeps spitting it out at me.
Perfect. Yeah, I will say that some people's definition of himbo involves a body type, and I understand this, but I genuinely don't think that's accurate. I think it helps if the
Yeah.
himbo is beef, but also, like, we don't body shame here. A himbo is a state
Yeah.
of mind, you know?
I think it's also beefy in comparison to the characters around them as well, because,
Yes.
like, typically they're the big guys of their groups,
Oh, yeah.
but they don't necessarily have to be. But they're very rarely not, at least in some degree, capable of stopping someone from running off to do a dumb thing by just picking them up, you know?
Yes, yes. That is one of my favorite uses of the himbo. Like, all right,
Mm-hmm,
you're
mm-hmm,
getting into the
mm-hmm.
timeout hug, young man.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Okay, yeah. So I think we've pretty firmly defended our choice of Kronk.
Yes, I don't think he's a spicy placement at
He's
all.
not
I
a
think he's
spicy
pretty
take.
solidly
No.
where we expect.
Hot take: Kronk from Emperor's New Groove is himbo. No, come on.
Shocking.
All right, now let's just we jumped ahead just a little bit on our official
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
list here. First on the list is your beefy boy of choice.
My beefy boy of choice,
Let
my
me just
sweet baby shark boy, Kirishima from My Hero Academia.
let me just
What a little beefy boy.
figure out
What
if
a
there's
little
a
champ.
shortcut to adding this new source. Okay, all right. This might work. Okay, nobody look. I'm retyping it. No, I failed. What have I done? Ah, my shame. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Ha ha.
Hmm.
No, I've changed both of them. What's happening?
There's a tinier Kronk up in the corner now.
No, okay, hold on. I can fix
Oh,
this. Nobody freak out.
everyone is calm. We
Everyone,
are
stop freaking
all.
out.
Everyone, maintain your zen. I can do my calming radio voice if you would like. Would that help you? It's not the peppy one that I use on tours. It's different. It's developed to sound exactly like an NPR host.
I can't believe I'm gonna need to make a new source for every single one of these himbos. This is gonna be
Yeah,
a
we're gonna.
nightmare. Yes, add new source. We're calling this one Himbo 2.
How many himbos can we get to by the end of the stream?
This one is going to be
Many
in Helvetica
himbos.
because changing it to my font of choice is a little tricky. Alright, so, well, let's put Kirishima in the himbo waiting area. Where are we gonna
Yes.
put him? Let's put him on the chair. with
Over
us.
over the armchair. Yes. Put them like hovering above the armchair. That's where we'll put them when we're in the debate stage. We're
Okay.
Thanks for hanging tight, chat. We're still figuring out the flow of this as we go along.
Sorry, chat just caught up to my dreaded faux pas of overwriting Kronk.
Kronk harder. Yes.
Okay, all
Now,
right.
Hiroshima.
Yes,
Kirishima. My sweet,
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 beefy boy.
beefy boy. Yes. A phrase we will say so much in this stream.
Yeah, I think that technically applies to every single character we're going to be discussing today, except for the couple that are sweet beefy girls. But you know, beefy
Exactly.
boy is a genderless term as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I would agree. There are some women on this list as well, but we'll place them when we get to them.
We all know that Scorpio is a beefy boy. Come on.
Yeah,
Don't
come
lie
on,
to me.
guys. Come on. But
Okay.
Kirishima,
Yes, Kirishima,
the himbo
the
we're
boy of
ostensibly
choice.
talking about.
Let me wiggle his name so we remember where it is.
Yes.
Whoa. Whoa. Oh,
Hmm.
this is what happens when we don't have. You know, all this time I thought you were the one keeping us on track because of how the
Please.
pods go. Oh,
I may
no.
be the source of Zen on pods, but when it comes to streams, it's a no holes barred nonsense fest, and I am ready to party, baby.
Yeah, baby. Okay.
So, with considering where are we placing Kirishima on the list, obviously I have a lot of love for this particular character. I think that he's a lot of fun. But we have to consider what qualities of a himbo he covers, and I would say the beefy part is definitely checked out on. While he is not necessarily the largest character in My Hero Academia, he is certainly a strong boy.
Oh, yes.
His superpower, his quirk, is essentially to turn into like stone or rock, or just it's just called hardening, and
Just
I'm not
makes
really
it
sure necessarily.
more solid. Yeah, they kind of
More solid.
you know, I like it. I really do, because the premise, the whole concept of a quirk is just such a fun way to give somebody just like a very limited power set that then they have to use. But you know, Hero Academia also introduced the whole, sometimes your quirk changes or evolves or gets cooler and better, and then it maybe stops doing the thing you thought it was doing, and now it's something else. It's like, okay, cool. So it's like Kirishima, when he started out, it was like, it just made his skin a little bit harder and sharper. But now it's like, hey, do you want to turn into a scary rock man? You can, which is fine. I don't mind that. I think evolving power sets are great, but it definitely, like, part of what I really liked about it initially was that everyone's powers were so weird and weirdly limited. It's like, we can't just let this guy be fast. He has to have engines in his legs.
Exactly.
That's not horrifying, but anyway, yeah. And body type wise, Kirishima is, he's a teenage boy. Most of the main characters are teenagers. He's not like as built as he's presumably going to get when he Pokemon evolves into the next stage of anime character evolution. But yes, he's, beefy by beef standards, and he's pure of heart, dumb of ass, and overwhelmingly kind.
Absolutely.
So I think he, I don't think it's in question whether or not he qualifies as a himbo. I think the question is, where should we put him on this tier list?
Yes, and I think a lot of the placement for Kirishima truly comes down to like how dumb does a himbo actually have to be? Because while Kirishima is not necessarily the single brightest bulb in all of Class 1A, he's not the dumbest either.
No.
And what he lacks in intelligence, he more than makes up for in emotional intelligence. So that's kind of leading into the himbo type as it is. I love Kirishima. I don't know if he's an S tier himbo.
Yeah.
I don't think he fully encompasses the archetype in the way that Kronk does.
Yeah.
I would maybe put him in, I would go for A, potentially.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. I wouldn't put him below B, at least. So, yeah.
No.
Let's go A tier. A tier
Let's
for
go
Kirishima.
A tier.
And let's make
A
his
tier
title
for our-
a little bit smaller. Just a little squinch.
Yes, we're gonna have to do some title adjustments because this list is
This is going to be
potentially gonna
illegible by
run
the
large.
end. And if we spend like a full 5 minutes on every himbo on this list, we're
Oh
gonna
no,
be
there are
here
some that will
all
fly
night.
by, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is a shocking number of people on stream. Oh, hey, I see we've stumbled on the next himbo that chat's been yelling about.
Yes,
Bolin
from Legend
from
of
Legend of
Korra.
Korra. Let me just
You may know him
press
as
a
the
little VS
earthbending
here.
brother from the Fire Ferrets.
Of course, he's the
Uh,
Earthbender.
he also became a movie star, which I think was just a really fucking funny plot point.
You know, that's something bizarrely popular. They always do that. They did that in the season of Gargoyles that nobody should watch. With the team big guy. They always do this, and I don't know why.
Yeah. You know,
Uh,
it's just it's the raw charisma that the himbo encompasses. It really comes out on screen. Um, so let's get Bolin up on the board above the chair here because we
oh, he's there.
gotta we
Yeah,
gotta
don't worry.
he's there
You're
up
a
the
little
stream.
behind. That's
I'm a
all.
few seconds behind. Oh, I see him. He's appeared.
Yes, he's
Oh,
appeared.
excellent.
He's manifested. Yeah. Now, I will say, I have very limited exposure to Legend of Korra. I've talked about this before, Tim, if you're watching, I apologize. I'm gonna sass your fave again, but like, I really struggled. I really struggled to get through a lot of it. It's nobody's fault. It's just, I mean, it's really not great if the best season of the show is the last one and the worst season of the show is the second one. You know?
Yeah.
Um,
I also struggled to I watched all of Legend of Korra, but I did struggle to get through it a little bit at some points because it's certainly
yeah, just a skosh.
it's not the same flavor of show as Avatar was, despite being set in the same universe. It has
Yeah.
a similar writing style, but the stories that it's telling are very fundamentally different, and I don't know if it necessarily jives in the same way that the original series did.
Yeah, and you can really tell, like, Last Airbender was planned from the very beginning, you know? Like, some things were up in the air. I mean, they talked about how when they originally conceived of Toph, they were thinking of making her just like a big, strong guy, and then they were like, but what if we made her a diminutive blind girl instead, with the exact same personality we would typically give a large man? Which was the best writing decision that's ever been made in the history of writing decisions.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so my exposure to Korra was pretty minimal. I think I watched through the first season, and I watched through the second season, and then decided I never wanted to do that again. And then I saw bits and pieces from later. So I know the thing about Bolin lava bending, but, like, didn't maybe get the full context of why that was cool. And I mean...
Yes, I think that also that might lend to why I don't think Bolin is he's not a Kronk.
Yeah.
I would maybe put him in as a B tier himbo because while he is certainly 6 feet tall and super strong and we always get along, I don't necessarily know if he is simple enough to truly be an A tier himbo. I think he's got too much going on, and there are parts in the series where he is not drinking his respect women juice as much as he could be, which is a major flaw for a himbo. So I would say B tier. But
yeah, that sounds right to me. I mean, my exposure to Korra was, of course, pretty narrow, but I do remember kind of getting the vibe that part of the point was, which of these hunky boys will Korra date? And then the twist at the end was, none of them. But, like, it was pretty clear when they introduced Mako and Bolin that Mako was the mean brother and Bolin was the nice brother, and that was about as far as their personalities extended. And I'm sure they developed more later, but, like, you know, when you're doing a trio of protagonists instead of like a 5-man band or more, it's very easy for one of the characters to end up as comic relief and not really get a chance to expand beyond that most of the time. And that's the vibe I got off of Bolin, although I don't know if they improved that.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for the $10, Jesus Christ.
The ultimate himbo. I'm not gonna. We know it actually. No, I regret saying that immediately.
Come on, man. The discourse. You've summoned it.
The discourse. Yes. No, I think B for Bolin is good for now. I'm interested to see if we end up closing any of these ranks up a little bit as we go, because I think that Bolin might get bumped down depending on what other himbos we discuss. But we got to get through more of these.
Yeah,
beefy,
we'll need
beefy
to
boys
reevaluate.
before we can really.
Okay, so let's speed this up a little bit. I see that next in the list we have James from Pokemon.
Yes, of Team Rocket fame.
Who's kind of exemplary of the fact that Himbo has no body type.
Hell yeah.
Just add this source.
Is he a villain? Yes. But he's got a heart of gold underneath his, criminal career trying to steal that Pikachu, and he's not afraid to like be He's too dumb to be evil, and he's not afraid to like express himself however he wants. He always gets the like dress when they're just in disguise, and I think that that is a level of confidence that you can only get when you have like nothing going on in your mind to be like a negative thought to like bring the vibe down. I think James is a really good himbo,
He is pretty
but
no
he
thoughts head
isn't
empty.
but he's lacking in the beefy part, which does, keep
Yeah.
him out of the S tier.
And he's a very non-standard himbo. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that like he's
Hmm.
not a Kronk-alike, you know?
Yes.
He's not topologically similar to Kronk. He's kind of like he's an odd little mirror in several ways. He's like the
Mm.
opposite build-wise, and we would be remiss if we didn't mention that he is flamboyantly queer-coded. um,
Yes.
and to the
Very
point
much
where it's
so.
like, is it coding if they're saying it outright, but they're acting like they're joking?
Hmm.
Who knows? Yeah, I think it's tricky. You know, he's not even got the standard himbo personality. He is technically evil and kind of conniving. Oh my god, 4,000 people are watching us argue about this. Guys,
Good.
most of you should be asleep.
This is academic research, and the people deserve to hear the truth direct from the source.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Okay, all right. Okay, where are we gonna put him? I think like he is great. He's a very fun character, but it's almost like
Hmm.
he's a different archetype than the himbo. Like
Yeah,
there's overlap. There's a Venn diagram between James and himbo, but there's
mhm.
some traits outside of it, you know?
Yeah, I think he's lacking on enough traits that he's going to be one of our first entries into the lower part of the tier list. And again,
Mm.
this is specifically how himbo they are, not necessarily
Right. This isn't how
how
good of a
quality the
character they
character
are.
is.
Yeah.
Yes, because James is an excellent character,
Oh,
but is
James is
he is he
magnificent.
an excellent himbo? Debatable. I
Hmm.
see the chat speeding up as I'm saying this, guys. I promise.
A lot of them are
It's
saying
okay.
S tier, and a lot of them are saying it's 2 p.m. in Australia. So, oh hey, we finally catered to the Australian audience. Uh,
Oh, hey.
Love to see it.
What's up,
Okay,
mates? All right.
mates.
I would he's maybe like an E tier
E tier
himbo.
himbo, but I mean it fits his color
Uh,
scheme. I'm down to put
yeah,
him
it
down there.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's E tier it
He's
is.
an excellent character, but as himbos go, he's
Yeah.
he's
He's lacking in a few of the himbo
he's
qualities that we're
scraping
looking
by
for.
with a C minus in
Hmm.
himbo class, as it were. Like he's gonna
Yes.
pass, but
You
he's
gotta make James's name smaller. Okay, here we go. I see that.
well, I can't read it on my screen anymore, so hopefully it's coming through in crisp high def.
Woo! All right.
Alrighty,
So
let's see.
next up, we've got
Our boy Thor. I see you specified
Thor.
it's Thor from the MCU. I'm gonna broaden that to Thor from Marvel
Yes.
in general. Um,
Yes, I think that's a fair choice. And uh, I
Thor is at his best when he's being written like a himbo, I think.
yeah, yeah. There's so much variation in how he's written. But generally, I think he's a little bit more solidified than many other Marvel characters tend to be in terms of characterization across many runs, particularly in
Yeah.
recent years, since the MCU has had an intense impact on the way that many comics characters are consistently written
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%. Yeah, Thor
but,
is
in terms of like himbo qualities, Thor's checking off a lot of boxes.
yeah, I mean, he's got the build, he's got the personality most of the time. Like with the caveat that okay,
Hmm.
sorry. Several caveats. In the original run of the comics, and I don't know if anybody really, well, anybody. I don't know if new Marvel fans are aware of this, but
Hmm.
in the comics, that arc from the first Thor movie where Thor is depowered and cast down to Earth, that's from the comics, but it was more extreme in the comics. Not only was he depowered and cast down to Earth, he was turned into a human, a doctor with a limp, like who couldn't like walk properly, called
Hmm.
Don Blake, and he had a cane, and the cane could transform into Mjolnir. So he like had a human secret identity, as kind of part of the whole lesson of in humility that Odin was teaching him, which was really cool. They didn't do that in the movie, but they did reference it. There's a blink and you'll miss it bit where they get him like a fake ID or something from like one of Natalie Portman's character's old boyfriends, and it says Don Blake on it. And it's like, okay.
Cool.
And that Thor is less of a himbo because he's less powerful. You know, he's more of like he's kind of got to be clever and he's contemplative and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
modern Thor in Marvel, like the one they did in Earth's Mightiest Heroes and the slightly inferior one they did in the MCU, top
Yes.
quality himbo. He is beefy.
Oh,
He is nice.
and he
he
is drinking that respect women
oh
juice.
so much.
He's
So
just chugging it on the daily.
another. um, but yeah. So I would say my top tier version of Marvel's Thor is in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and that's about as himbo as he gets.
Yes.
But I will say that that Thor is never dumb. He is often kind of limited. I mean, he's one of those characters who, like, he knows what he's good at, and he doesn't tend to think about anything very far outside of that. So it's like, oh, I must go and vanquish the Hulk again? Sweet. Bye.
That
But then
sort
it's
of
like,
straightforwardness is also very,
mm-hmm.
very himbo of him because it's not necessarily that they're dumb, but they tend not to like question the course of action that they're on necessarily.
They're not very complicated. And
Mm-hmm.
I will say that in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Thor has a few moments of like, oh, that was cool. But it's usually not, oh, I didn't know he had enough brain cells for that. It's more like, oh, that was smart. I liked it. There's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we cannot possibly let me go off on this tangent. There's a really cool bit where Absorbing Man absorbs the power of Mjolnir and kicks him around for a bit until Thor uses his control of Mjolnir to use Absorbing Man as a really big hammer.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
so good. And
We can go off on any tangents we want because Blue's not here to tell us no.
I like how each of us seems to think that a different member of the team is the one who keeps us on track most of the time. Maybe it's just like when all of us are in a room, we reach some kind of stable equilibrium where each of us goes off on our own tangents enough to maintain some semblance of being on track. But yeah, no, that scene is great. And there's a few moments where Thor gets to be sassy or like snarky or just demonstrates that he kind of knows what's going on. There's a bit because the finale of the first season, the premise is, oh no, Loki took over Asgard. This is unprecedented, and there definitely haven't been several MCU movies about this plot. And I believe there's a bit where Thor, who's been imprisoned by Loki, says something like, if you are so all-powerful, brother, then why haven't you won yet? And Loki doesn't like that very much. It's just,
Nope.
I will say that Thor is smarter than the average himbo, but he's still a top-tier himbo in my books. I'd put him in S rank without question, but I'm wondering if there might be some debate over this.
I tend to agree with you. I think even in the MCU version of Thor, at least in the more recent versions, he's definitely in that top tier himbo. I would say maybe the variation in his characterization does knock him down a peg since we're not nailing down one particular version because there's so many different Thor variants. I don't know if he can be an S tier because I don't know if there's necessarily one Thor that does, like, there are versions of Thor that are certainly S tier, but there are also versions of Thor that aren't even himbos at all.
That's true, yeah.
Perhaps an A tier placement for Thor, although again,
that makes sense. I think
for
Thor
debate.
in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he is a peak himbo, but he's also smarter, so it's a little bit of debate. All right, let's see. Oh god. Oh great. All right. Next on the list, John F. Kennedy from Clone High, a text box I'm going to need to put some caveats on so that everybody knows what we're talking about.
Now, for those of you who don't remember earlier this year when Clone High and an MTV animated series from like the 90s had a moment for some reason, the premise of the show is that various historical figures were cloned in a secret government program, and now their clones are high school aged and in high school, and the show is largely just like a teen high school drama, but there is one character who stands out in the crowd, and that is of course the clone of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I haven't watched this show. I fully missed the boat on it. There's a lot of shows that I watched that I didn't watch when I was a kid, and then when I like got internet access at age 14, I immediately looked them up and binge watched them. Clone High was not on that list, strangely. So all I know about it are the memes and like the revival and what people were saying about the revival, which included a lot of, hey, did anyone remember how many weirdly sexual jokes there were in this show? So that was enough for me to be like,
Yeah, everyone forgets that it was an MTV series. It was not intended for children. It just looks like it was, which is a confusing space to work in.
Terrifying.
I would say that JFK is on this list because of the memes, not necessarily because of his actual characterization in the show, which is why I think that he should probably be a pretty low tier himbo. Is he dumb? Yes,
Yes.
but he doesn't respect women.
Yeah, that's the vibe I
And
got.
while he's certainly beefy and he's certainly dumb, but is he pure of heart?
It
I
seems
don't think
no.
so.
It seems like everything I've seen
Yeah.
about the show implies that he's kind of terrible.
He's
So,
kind of like the jerk jock character in a lot of ways, but he's just
hmm.
also has all the funniest lines and a hilarious choice in voice acting. So
All
I
I
would
know
say he's
about that,
probably
all I know about that is that there was that I guess like the voice actor was on Twitter and was taking requests leading to him saying, "Hey babe, you got a fat ass. What's your pronouns?" So, um, but that doesn't really strike me as himbo behavior, you know?
no, no. I would say JFK is probably an F tier
F
himbo because
tier.
he's
Ooh.
not yeah, he's look, he's he beefy, is he dumb? Yes, but he lacks the I think the pure of heartness is what really defines the himbo, and to lack that quality makes you a very poor himbo indeed.
My day be so fine. Then boom, F tier. And that exhausts my knowledge of Clone High. Thank
I
you,
guess
ladies
you
and
could
gentlemen.
say
We'll be
that
here all.
something
Oh,
bad
hello,
does happen to
Trevor
the
Belmont.
Kennedys.
Oh
Oh,
God.
yes.
So
That's a line
next
from
on
the
this
show.
list, we have
Ugh.
Trevor
Ugh.
Belmont.
The hottest animated character of all time, and I'm not, that's not up for debate.
Okay. All right.
I'm, I'm putting it out there right
Hey,
now, you know.
I'm not here to
Like,
judge. I'm just here to, well, maybe I am here to judge actually. Trevor Belmont. I don't know.
I would argue that that's exactly what we're here for.
There is something about the art style in Castle. It's beautiful, but like everyone is kind of, maybe it's just the way that they give everyone really defined lips and kind of like
Mhm.
everyone's face is a little bit high on their head, so their chin tends to be a little bit big and their eyes tend to be a little bit higher than 50% up their face, and it's just, I mean, it's very pretty and the animation is incredible. I'll stand by that forever.
Mhm.
But finding the characters attractive, it really depends. But
No,
yeah, so.
I saw a hot man drink beer and use whips, and I was like, yep,
Oh,
cool.
okay.
We stand. Yeah, but is he a himbo? That's what we're really here to discuss.
Yeah, so Trevor Belmont. Well, he is beefy. He definitely respects women.
Mhm.
Which is,
Hell
I
yeah.
gotta admit, when Trevor's character was introduced and he was like a hard drinking dickhead, I was like, uh-oh. And then he's nothing but kind and respectful when dealing
Yeah.
with the ladies of the show, which is like, mwah.
Yeah, he doesn't care about your gender. He just wants to know if you can kick some vampire ass. And
Yep.
if the answer is yes, you can hang. And if
Yep.
the answer is no, he's not going to be mean to you. He's just going to probably ignore you and go, I don't know,
Drink.
talk to
Hang out with his
Alucard or
cool
something.
vampire killing friends. Yeah. So, now the question is Trevor Belmont stupid?
Mm,
And I feel like this is a matter of debate.
yes,
Uh,
ooh. Is Trevor dumb?
I mean, he did punch
Well,
Dracula 3 times to no effect.
I think that Trevor is dumb. I don't think that he's the dumbest himbo on this list,
I
but
agree.
I do think that he has traded a certain amount of analytical thought processing for like muscles. And I
Yeah.
kind of respect that choice because he doesn't do a lot of the strategizing in the show. He's quick on his feet in a fight, and he knows how to read the signs that he's been trained to look for when he's
Mm-hmm.
tracking monsters and things. But outside of his existing areas of expertise, he doesn't do too hot.
No. I will say that Trevor, I think the one thing that makes it a little bit tricky and that makes his himbo status a little inobvious is that he is kind of edgy and mean sometimes. However,
Hmm.
he is only mean to bad guys. And while he is edgy all the time, one thing that I absolutely adore about season 3 is that Sypha is like, obviously he's a good person. And Trevor's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, what about that time you broke that man's leg because he was being mean to a cat? And Trevor's like, who the fuck is mean to cats? So it's just, I just love his characterization as like, no, I'm not a good person. Shut up. Yes, I'll defend this kitten. uh, so good.
Exactly. He's, I think it's also in the context of the tone of the show. Like everyone is kind of an edgy like asshole in the
Yeah.
show. I
Oh,
can't think
not
of a single like
Sypha.
well, Sypha is sort of notably a ray of sunshine in an otherwise
This is
very
true.
depressing world.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how that has nothing to do with her being naive. She's just like that. Like, she doesn't
Yeah.
actually get any crankier when things go to shit. She's just kind of like, yeah, I'm cute and spunky and fun, and I will chop this vampire in half on screen
Hmm.
with a smile on my
Woo!
face. Oh, I love her. Anyway, we're talking about Trevor. I think that Trevor's a
Yes.
pretty high tier himbo, but I feel like it would be disingenuous to put him in the S tier when there's enough
Yes.
caveats on his personality. I'd say we could justify putting him as low as B tier just because there's enough things going on with him that make him seem kind of like
Hmm.
not. He's not in the center
Yeah,
of
I
the
think
himbo bell curve, you know?
he's sort of falling into the same spot as Bolin for me here in the B tier because I think that he's got enough, like you mentioned, enough caveats, enough like little nagging feelings that he's not quite the ideal himbo. Like he has
Mm-hmm.
many of the qualities we're looking for, and you know, that's wonderful. But
Yeah. No, he's a
being
great
that much of an
character.
yeah, great character, but being just a little bit too mean, a little bit too edgy to be like a true himbo, I think the B tier is a pretty solid
Yeah.
place to put him.
There's a Venn diagram between himbos and early 2000s emo hot boys, and Trevor Belmont falls squarely in the middle.
I mean, we've all seen my Venn diagrams. We don't need to get into that on this stream.
We have. And I see next on our list we have another fan favorite. Let me just add
Another
this
fan
source.
favorite. Our hunky fishman Sidon from Breath of the
Sidon.
Wild,
Hell
or
yeah.
The Legend of Zelda. He's in other Zelda games
He
now, but
is?
you know, whatever. The Hyrule Warriors.
Oh, does that count as its own Zelda game?
Sure.
All right. Sidon.
Neither
All
of us
right.
has played it, but I assume it counts. Yeah, Sidon.
Yeah, if only Blue were here.
Well, Sidon. He's a fishman and very definitely beefy.
Definitely beefy.
I think that he's qualifying in terms of the physical attributes of a himbo. You know, a big beefy boy,
Yep.
6 feet tall and super strong, as we've said before on the stream.
Yep.
Uh,
And
and
he
he's
is,
certainly got the upbeat attitude that
oh
we're
yeah,
looking for in a himbo.
relentlessly positive.
Hmm.
Like it would be effortless to dub him with like a surfer dude Bill and Ted voice. Like the
Oh
fact that they
yeah.
made him classy and British, cowardly. Should be going, Link, my dude, excellent,
Radical.
go. Okay, yeah. So
Ugh.
I think Sidon is let's see. He's not particularly angsty. He doesn't really come
No.
across as all that complicated, all things considered.
Mm-mm.
He's just relentlessly kind and positive and helpful. So I think
Yeah,
Sidon
and
is an
he's
easy S tier, frankly.
I would agree because especially because like his sister Mifa gave him that respect women juice, and
Mm.
he doesn't show any signs that he's not drinking that juice. So I
Chat
think
points out that Sidon
that
is way
combined with
taller
the
than
fact that
6 feet. He's got to be closer to 9 feet.
all right, look, I'm not here to debate the exact in feet heights of these himbos, okay?
Yeah, don't get out of here
That's
with
not
your
why we're
facts,
here.
all right?
It's about the ambiance. No, I think Sidon is an easy S tier for me as well. I would
Perfect.
not debate you on putting him there. Give Kronk a little
Marvelous.
company.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see. We have two Shiras in the next.
Mhm.
Actually, hold on. Is it more than two?
Yeah, we're doing a little Shira.
Ah,
It's
no,
two.
no. It's just two. Did
Dude,
we not?
just
Did we not put Adora on the list?
I mean, we can add her.
I think
if you
she
want.
can. Well, you know what? We can get to that after we add. First of all, my beloved. I mean, I'm typing it as we speak under Himbo 8 only because I lost count. There's more than 8 Himbos on the chart. Scorpia, baby.
There's actually 8 himbos on the chart.
Oh. Well, in that case, naming this one Himbo 8, I've still lost count. This is Himbo 9.
Oh man.
Anyway, so Princess Scorpia, top tier as far as I'm concerned. She epitomizes everything that a himbo should be. She is hot, she is dumb, and she is very, very big.
Yeah, I mean, what is there to say about Scorpia that hasn't already been said in those last few words? I mean, she's despite being a villain for the first half of the series or so, Scorpia is very kind to those around her.
Oh yes.
She is first and foremost a good friend,
Mhm.
and I think that is an admirable quality for a himbo. I think that she is, in fact, quite a good himbo, and it
Oh
would seem
yes.
that the chat agrees with
This chat is
us.
spamming that S tier. No kidding. Yeah, I mean, it's often true that himbos almost epitomize the moral compass of the story they're in. Just like
Hmm.
something about them is the most innocent or good-hearted thing in the setting, and it's got overlap with the concept of naivete is something like that. But Scorpia is one of those characters where, despite being a villain, like you're doing something wrong if Scorpia is unhappy with you. The only technical exception to this rule in story is Adora, who Scorpia doesn't like because they are in love with the same person, which is so funny to me.
I know.
But
But
yeah.
that sort of straightforward thinking is also, I think, what makes her a very good himbo. It's
Mm-hmm.
again, like we mentioned, it's not necessarily that they're dumb, but they're just very straightforward in how they interact with the world and how they process
Oh
information.
yeah.
And I think that
No, yeah,
sort
Scorpia's
of,
great.
mm-hmm,
And she's the
mm-hmm.
rare himbo who doesn't have that many friends to start with, to the point where in season 5, when she is making friends with everyone, it's like, yes! Or I guess that's season 4, and then through season
Yes.
5, well, it's great. It's great, and I love her. She's going in the S tier. No argument.
Yes. I will not fight you on this one. I believe that is the
Good.
correct placement for Scorpia as well.
And next up, let me just move down side on a little bit. We're gonna
Hmm.
stack these bad boys.
Speaking of She-Ra characters, our next
Yes.
himbo contestant is also from She-Ra.
Uh huh.
Mub, the singing pirate man Seahawk,
Hell yeah. So let me
who's
just Seahawk. There he is. Okay, yeah. So Seahawk.
ew.
He's interesting. I'd say that he is like an archetypical himbo, except
Hmm.
that like he's in a show with so many other really top tier himbos. I don't know how he measures up by comparison. Oh, I
Yeah,
hope
I mean,
pings
like
aren't
in
coming through.
terms of
Sorry, go ahead.
uh, yeah, no, in terms of She-Ra, is he the best himbo? No, but in terms of like raw himbo characterizations, I think Seahawk places pretty high, and I'm very biased here because Seahawk is one of my favorite She-Ra characters. But that's why we're here. Why are we here if not to argue for our biases?
Of course.
Uh, you know, is he pure of heart, dumb of ass? Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. I think the thing
He's
is,
very straightforward and fun-loving.
he
The
is,
only
although
the
oddly,
only detraction,
he's not quite as
yes,
straightforward as he could be, because Seahawk has a tendency to lie about his own accomplishments, which is a level of disingenuousness I don't tend to expect from my himbo characters.
Interesting. I see. I would say the one detraction for Seahawk is that he's not necessarily as beefy as some other himbos, as
That is
particularly
true.
even in comparison to other She-Ra characters.
I mean,
Which is
Adora
why the fact
consistently beats him in arm wrestling, even when she's not She-Ra, so
that's true. That's
yeah.
true.
I'd say I
I
wouldn't say Seahawk is S tier. I'd say he's
no.
like he's not setting the curve. He's comfortably in the curve.
Hmm.
I'd say A or B maybe.
Yeah, I would maybe put him in B tier because I think kind of similar to the other lads fitting in there. He's got some of those key initial flags that when you see them, your mind flashes with the word himbo, but he doesn't
Mm,
necessarily hold up under closer scrutiny.
yeah, he's got an unusual number of insecurities for a himbo. Most himbos don't tend to have enough
Hmm.
self awareness to be insecure about themselves. Um, but part of the reason why Seahawk exaggerates himself so much is because he is insecure. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yes, let's see. What do we have here? Yes. What's this guy's name? Oh, right. Okay, I got it.
David,
David. Yeah. Sorry, it's been a while. I literally just remember him as the handsome guy from Lilo and Stitch.
the handsome guy from Lilo and Stitch. We
Yes.
all know and love
Spoiler
him,
alert.
Surfer Dude David.
Yep.
I think that he is an excellent underrated himbo. I think he's a good like ghost pull, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
There we go.
he's certainly beefy.
He is.
He spends 90% of the movie shirtless. So we have visual confirmation that
Yep. Visual
this is a
confirmation
beefy
of the
boy.
beef.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Um, he's very kind and understanding to the whole family sitch they got going on. Obviously, Lilo's and uh Nami are having a tough time, and David is just there to support his girls, to have fun surfing in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
He's a ride or die, which is a key quality for a himbo.
Yep.
And I mean, he doesn't do much in the movie, but he also doesn't seem to have much going on when he does do it. But he has a high emotional intelligence, which I think is important.
He's got
You
the
know, it's
Wii
not
channel music on loop in his head for most of the movie.
yes, but when his girl needs support, he is there for her.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah. I
and
think.
and for that reason, I think that he is actually a very good himbo,
Oh
an
yeah, yeah.
often forgotten one.
I think that part of the narrative role he plays in Lilo and Stitch is to provide a contrast for the otherwise immensely emotionally complicated events of the movie. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
Lilo and Nani, or is it Nani? It's been a while
Uh,
since I watched that movie. Um,
Lilo and Stitch. I think so, but let me check.
excuse me. Um,
Yeah, Nani.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just they're going through so much like painfully realistic stuff. I gotta say, Lilo and Stitch hits very different when you're no longer like a little kid. Because when you're a little kid
Yeah.
and you watch it, you're like, Lilo, yay, Stitch is so cute. And then when you watch it as an adult, you're like, that's fucking child services? Oh my
Yeah, the minute you start becoming aware of what child services is, it's
god!
like the
Yeah.
whole context of the movie changes. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a very real threat, and it is not the aliens.
Mm-hmm. It's almost a relief when they get kidnapped by aliens, because now you're like, oh, okay, we're in the fantasy zone. All right, cool. Huh. Extenuating circumstances. But yeah, yeah, I agree. David is a great character. I think he doesn't have much going on upstairs, but like, you know, that's that's a key factor of the himbo.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm trying to remember this. Isn't there a bit when they are surfing? I feel like I just don't remember which character does this. There's a bit when they're surfing where like Stitch like throws a tantrum or something or freaks out and causes a problem, and I believe one of them kicks him while he's underwater, and that might be David. And if it is, that I am inclined to kick him, at least disqualify him from S tier, because that is not a kind thing to do, even if he's doing it to
Mm.
protect his gals, you know. Um,
Yeah, I would say that David's probably not in the S tier only because I don't think that he has enough of the immediate. Like when you see him on screen, you're not immediately aware that he is a himbo.
yeah.
And I feel like with all the other S tier himbos, you get one glance at those beefy lads and lasses, and you're like, oh yeah,
Yep.
that's a himbo right there. So I would maybe
100%.
put David in the A tier, but I think he's not quite making S.
That's fair. Yeah, I think again, you know, he's not setting the curve, but he's comfortably
That
within.
is also informing us that it was Nani who kicked Stitch. But
Okay, all right.
so
David is
David is
David is in the
innocent.
clear. Let me just scoosh him in.
Neither of us has watched Lilo and Stitch in a while, is I think
Yeah, yeah.
what's happening here.
I'm not looking to cry today. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see who's next. Ah, my boy of choice. Give me just a
Hmm.
minute to wrangle this accursed streaming software once more. Himbo
Wrangling.
11. Oh, why did I capitalize this one? I'm breaking my own pattern. Ugh.
Hey, hey, hey. Man.
Boop. Ta-da! My
Oh.
beefy duck boy Launchpad McQuack. I am inclined to give this man S rank right out the gate. I like cannot think of a more qualified himbo, to be completely honest. He's, you know, he's got the Kronk build, he's got the
Mm-hmm.
personality, he's unconditionally a hero, and I think an underrated but extremely important key factor of the himbo is that they must be a friend to the lesbians, and Launchpad is
Yes.
canonically a friend to the only canon lesbian in DuckTales. They went out on a date, and he was like, oh no, I must be terrible at this dating thing, she hates it, and then she's like, no, calm the fuck down. I just do not wish to date an Earth male. And he's like, oh, I fully support this. And it's like, yes, yes, Launchpad, my beloved. So,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen enough of DuckTales
oh,
to argue against that, so I am inclined to allow you to place Launchpad McQuack into S tier.
perfect. It's what he deserves. And the
Yeah,
world. Boop.
he has like the exact shape that you expect from a himbo character when like if you're drawing an animated himbo, it's that inverted triangle. It's the Dorito shape,
Yeah,
and
it's,
Launchpad certainly accomplishes that.
he's 100% the Dorito man. It's great. He's
Hmm.
so dumb. I love him. Everything about him is pure serotonin for me. Okay. Alrighty. Next up, we have a character from a show I have not seen. So, would you
Jason
care?
Mendoza from The Good Place.
Yeah. Let me
Now,
just-
this is a very popular placement on many of the online himbo lists that I was searching for when compiling this particular list.
Yeet.
Jason starts the show pretending to be a monk who has taken a vow of silence, and he breaks that illusion by showing his secret room to Eleanor, the other character, where he has just a bunch of Florida uh artifacts and video games, and he's just like, I'm just having a good time. Jason Jason Mendoza does not have a single thought going on in his head ever at all in the entire show, and every line of his is incredibly funny, but not once does he disrespect the other characters. This
Mm.
man's intelligence is zero, but his emotional intelligence is off the charts.
I gotta admit, everything I've seen about this character, I could just hear the white noise playing behind his ears, you know?
There is it is just the me music on loop. Um I would put, and also I think another point for Jason, because I think that Jason is an easy S tier, but I think what really like puts the final nail in the coffin for that ranking for him is that he has an ongoing relationship in the series with Janet, a not a girl, not a robot character. And whenever it comes up in story that like someone is like, "Oh, your girlfriend," he's like, "Well, no, my Janet." And I think that that
Aw.
respecting of all gender identities without even question. Like as soon as Jason knows what's up, he's like, "Yeah, okay, I can roll with that." And I think that that is just much like Launchpad McQuack being a friend of the lesbians. If you can be a friend of the non-binaries, then I think that you can. Yeah, that's a quintessential himbo trait.
I'm just gonna
Himbos accept you
shorten
as you
this.
are.
He's
They
taking
don't.
so much
Yeah,
space.
they don't try to change you.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty good. I will say I've seen a lot of memes involving Jason and Molotov cocktails. Do you think that this disqualifies him from top tier himbo status, or?
No, I think if anything, like, because no one in the show is really necessarily beefy enough to be like the
Mm.
beefiest of beefs. But I think that Jason's scrappiness makes up for it in a way. Like I would consider him the bruiser of the group outside of maybe Eleanor, but she's solidly in like protagonist territory. Uh,
Hmm.
so
All right.
I don't know. I think the Molotov cocktails. Also, I don't think he ever necessarily knows what's up with the Molotov cocktails. I feel like he's implied to be like just like a Florida man and
Ah, yes, the average Florida man.
the average Florida man. So I think it's less malicious Molotov cocktails and more just like, what do you mean you wouldn't use a Molotov cocktail in this situation? I've
That's
always used a
absurd.
Molotov cocktail in this situation.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm sold, and I haven't watched the show enough to potentially judge. So Jason's going
Ayo.
in the S tier. We're gonna need to
We're-
squoze these guys.
I also love that Kronk is still the only one in a special font.
What?
I think that that's appropriate for him.
We're prioritizing speed. I can't switch out from Helvetica if we want to get through this in a timely
No, no,
fashion.
no. It's okay. It's important because Kronk is, again, as we mentioned, the first one we did, he's the blueprint. We're comparing all of our himbos essentially to Kronk.
Yes, yes. Now, next on the list, we have Hercules, specifically the Disney version. We just
Yes,
add him.
the animated Hercules, bless my soul, Herc was
Was
on a
on a
roll.
roll. Okay, let me just. Eh. There he is. Okay. Now, I am inclined to say that he's probably mid tier. I'll be completely honest.
Hmm.
He's got the build, but because of the odd writing of the movie overall, he doesn't quite come across as unconditionally heroic. Because of course, the whole core premise of the movie is that he gets into the hero business solely because at the beginning of the movie he is told by Zeus that this is the only way for him to be reunited with his family in Olympus. And by the end of the movie, he does
Hmm.
change his mind, but that implies a character arc, you know? And most himbos don't have those, or at least not serious
Yes.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think his protagonist status does sort of damage his himbo ability, so to
Mm,
speak.
yeah.
Um, I agree. I mean, certainly he's got the build, and I think he's a little smarter than most of the himbos on this list.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a little less emotionally intelligent than some of the himbos on this list, at least in the middle of the movie. But again, that could be attributed to his character arc. I
Yeah.
would say that Disney's Hercules is probably like maybe a C tier himbo.
I'm
I
inclined
just,
to agree. Yeah, I think it's just that like he's got the build and he is
hmm
nice and he does, respect women. To the point where all of Meg's like scheming relying on him being a jerk like utterly fails and causes her
which
to
is
reconsider.
excellent.
It's so fun. But I will say that like he's a little bit it's he's a little too protagonisty, I think. A little too
Hmm.
protagonisty to be a solid himbo because
Yeah.
he needs to have wants and needs and somewhat selfish desires to drive the plot, and that detracts somewhat from his himboness. So I'm inclined to put him in C and call it a day. Let's
Yeah,
just
I would agree.
skosh.
Let's toss him in that C tier.
And just squoze him down a little bit. Yeah, get out of
I'm
here.
really excited for this next Himbo.
Oh god. Yeah, okay. Give me a minute. I'll add him cuz I mean, come on. This
Come
one
on.
is just like just a second. I've definitely lost track of the himbo count, but there he is. The boy himself. So,
Freddie
where
Jones.
do we rank Fred from Scooby Doo?
Here's the thing. Original Scooby-Doo Fred Jones, maybe not as much of a himbo as many of the more recent interpretations. Fred Jones has become more himbo-ish over time.
Yes, 100%.
So
Yeah.
I
Fred?
think that because he has evolved into more of a himbo, he's disqualified the S
Oh.
tier, but I still think he is pretty high tier
Yeah.
outside of that.
I think that Fred suffers from the fact that initially nobody was super well written, you know? Like,
Hmm.
no shade, that's just how cartoons were back then. You know, everyone was basically a stock trope rather than a person, which is, you know, that's fine for the style of comedy they were going for. So Shaggy was cowardly, Fred was brave and liked making traps, and the girls were also there, and one of them was smart. And there was a dog. So, you know, like, but
Yes.
nowadays, as people examine this more, Fred ends up in this sort of like leader, but also endearingly dumb position.
Hmm.
Where, because, you know, the whole, oh, he's always making plans and they never go right. Haha. Yeah, I think that he's not quite S tier. Just because of that internal inconsistency, because you know the character's been around so much.
Hmm.
I'm kind of feeling maybe he's a little bit. I'd say maybe he's B tier, honestly. Like A tier would be the generous assessment, B tier would be the slightly harsher one. He's like right on the line.
Yeah, I think if we were just looking purely at like some of the most recent Freds, A tier. But because we
Mm.
have to consider that the history of the character, that's putting him more in B. If this was just Mystery Incorporated Fred Jones, then
Yeah.
absolutely top tier himbo.
Oh yeah.
But that man does not have a thought in his mind.
Yeah, Fred's definitely gotten flanderized a little bit. Let me just
Uh-huh.
boop. Let me just
But
let's
I
just
think B tier is a
yeah.
safe place to put
A
him.
nice high B
Um,
tier.
nice high B tier.
Right next to Trevor Belmont.
Oh,
I
my
don't know
sweet
which
beefy
of
boy.
them would be more confused by that comparison. All
That's
right.
the crossover event of the series right there.
Yes. Okay.
That's
Next
what
up, we have just a second.
get
Stop
you,
that! Don't
get your
spoil
head in the game.
it.
You gotta get your head in the game. You gotta get your
uh...
head in the game. Stop. Why am I feeling so bad?
Yes, that's right. It's Troy Bolton from High
Sing
School
the vibes
Musical.
in the
Everyone's
song.
favorite bowl-cutted romantic interest.
Young Zac Efron himself.
Mm,
Yeah, so Troy Bolton from High School Musical is, I think, a bit of a wild card pick for a himbo, but upon further consideration, the more I've thought about it, the more he does have some of those himbo traits that we're looking for. In
mm.
fact, many of the East High Wildcats have those traits, but Troy is sort of the epitome of that basketball team, so I feel it's fitting that we just kind of analyze him here.
Yeah.
Although the guy who made Creme Brulee is probably more of a himbo than Troy Bolton is, but I don't remember his name, and I think that disqualifies him from being in this particular stream.
Yeah. Caveat that I have not watched High School Musical in quite a long time. But obviously I've
Yes.
seen all the memes. Yeah, I
So
think that
the traits going for him. Let's go through those first.
right, yeah. Well, he's definitely a jock,
Uh,
which is a good help.
Definitely a jock, and
Um,
in the universe of High School Musical, that's enough to make him beefy, I
right,
think.
yeah. I mean, nobody in High School Musical is like beefy. Everyone at least kind of
Yes.
looks like they could be a teenager
It's
if
a
you
Disney
squint.
Channel original movie, so
Yeah.
like there's basically like three body types, and the beefiest you're gonna get is like Troy Bolton as a basketball
Yeah.
player.
Yeah, and I'd say that he is kind, and as a romantic lead, he
Hmm.
respects women. It seems like
Yes.
the main conflict is not that he needs to improve or develop. It's just what is the plot of High School Musical?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, so in High School Musical, the main conflict is that everyone needs to be able to break the status quo and be who they are.
Oh
So,
yes.
Vanessa Hudgens, Gabriella moves to a new school district. She's sort of like the science geek. She's nerdy. She's kind of does her own thing. And through a series of kooky coincidences, her and Troy both end up accidentally auditioning for the Spring Musicale,
Ah,
which is a
yes.
very funny way of saying musical. And they both get cast as leads despite not actually performing any of the songs from the show.
Ha!
Um, and then they're sort of trying to balance their existing futures. Will Troy pick basketball or performing arts?
Oh, God.
Will Gabriella be able to balance some sort of academic competition and performing arts? And of course, the end of the movie, they all accept themselves as performing arts.
Mm.
Um, Also, Sharpay is there and she's great. We all know and love Bop to the Top.
Yeah, of
I
course.
would say High School Musical 1, Troy Bolton, very solidly a pretty top tier himbo, but
Hmm.
we have to consider the events of High School Musical 2.
That might be why
I
Chad
don't
is
know if
almost unilaterally insisting he's D rank.
yes, see he in High School Musical 1 is certainly drinking his respect woman juice, but in High School Musical 2, the main conflict really centers around Troy sort of kissing up to Sharpay's dad to like get a good basketball scholarship,
Hmm.
and in the process disrespecting all of his friends who were also working at the same country club as him this summer and
Ugh.
reaping the benefits of a relationship that is not his relationship with Gabriella. And so I would say that that actually bumps him down quite a bit because while he's certainly in the first movie dumb, beefy, and pure of heart, in the second movie he becomes, I would even say, nearly a villain.
Whoa.
And I think that that character change, he's fine by the end because it's High
Well,
School
of
Musical
course,
too.
yeah.
By the end of the movie, we're basically back where we started.
Well,
But like
yeah.
the song "Go My Own Way" alone probably disqualifies Troy Bolton from being a high tier
Yeah,
himbo.
I'd say that himbos, if they are villains, it usually needs to be because they are like endearingly attached to a more villainy villain.
Yeah, like this the
Yeah.
Scorpia type.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the Scorpio type, the Kronk type.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with sticking him in the D rank, honestly. It'll at least fill it out. It's
Yeah.
just been staring at me since we started streaming.
All right, we'll
Get
put
in
Troy
there,
Bolton in the D
Troy.
ring. That feels right.
Get your head in the game.
Gotta get your head in
Head
the
in the
D
game.
tier.
Oh, okay, all right. This next one is going to be interesting.
This next one's gonna be fun.
The first ever himbo who's also a war criminal.
I think you could make an argument that Scorpia is technically also a war criminal.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But, you know, she didn't know at the time. And really,
I
she's
guess.
more like a child soldier POW. I feel like you can't be a war criminal if, you know, they're
Mm,
your foster parents also. Whatever.
fair
Alex
enough.
Louis Armstrong, the Armstrong alchemist. Where does he
Yes.
fit?
Okay, well, right off the bat, I mean, we can check the beefy box.
Oh,
We all
yes.
know this man is constantly flexing the entire series. Full Metal
Yes.
Alchemist being the
Yes.
series in question. Beefy is not in question here.
No. No.
So for his himbo placement, we're really gonna have to go
I'm sorry,
based
hold
on.
on. Chat just caught up to Himbo War Criminal, and shout out to the one guy who said, Yoda? Under no definition. Oh no.
I'm just picturing himbo Yoda now, like just like
No,
a
it's
beefier.
horrifying. No, I hate it. I hate it, and I don't want that fan art on my desk by 8, but it's gonna be there anyway. All right.
Oh my
Now,
god, that's so good. That's
Alex
so
Louis
good.
Armstrong.
Alex
Here's
Louis
the thing.
Armstrong.
I'm the one who brought it up, so I feel like I should, you know, defend him. The
Yeah,
whole
talk about the war criminal
he is
aspect.
technically a war criminal. I'd give him, you know, points docked for war crimes. However, Alex Louis Armstrong hated being used as a weapon of war so much that he was dishonorably discharged after basically having a breakdown because he was being used for this genocide, which I think really just indicates the fundamental core of his himbo nature. That like he was, you know, he was loyal and honorable and not very bright, and it made sense, and he did his job, and then he realized that doing his job was antithetical to his nature and his beliefs. And even though it's a big black mark on his military record, he stopped, and I think that's great. I think that that is actually a pretty solid mark. Like everyone else in the Mestrian military, and who all had their like angsty, oh, I'm a monster, I did bad things. Like most of them realized that in the process and still didn't, knock it off. So I think Armstrong
Mm-hmm.
gets himbo points just by virtue of being essentially the only character strong enough to be like, no, this sucks, and then stop. Um, and there's a bit in the manga specifically that didn't make it into the anime, because
Mm-hmm.
the anime kind of brushed over a lot of it. There's like a whole volume of the manga about this where he's built this massive wall to block the escape of some Ishvalan refugees. But he surreptitiously makes a hole in it to try and let some of them escape. But the people who escape are immediately killed by Kimberly because we can't have nice things. I'm just saying he was doing his best. So
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I think that, what's important to consider in the himbo personality is the core of their personality, because some of the himbos on this list have certainly had particular actions that are not necessarily in line with their core personality traits. And I think at heart, Alex Louise Armstrong is fundamentally kind
yes,
and dedicated to his honorable cause, which at one point did happen to make him a war criminal, but when he realized that it was making him a war criminal, he, doubled back.
yep.
So I think he's a pretty high tier himbo,
I
personally.
I say yeah. I'm not sure I'd put him in the S rank solely because he is not
No.
stupid. Like he acts
Mm-hmm.
goofy, but he's not dumb. And I think that maybe that puts him in the A rank. It makes him an excellent character. I really like that he
Yes.
doesn't quite fit into the stock himbo archetype. I like that he looks like he does, but on closer inspection, he is a deeply intelligent and very traumatized man. So I'm gonna put him in A rank just because he is so solid in every other dimension, and the things that make him less himbo-y just make him more interesting. So that's what I'm
Yes.
inclined to do.
I would agree with you. I think A is a
Sweet.
solid place to put him.
Just
A for Alex.
scooge him over here. A for the Armstrong family for generations. Okay, so that's him. Also, loving the picture you chose for him. You guys can't see it, but it's that one where there's roses and sparkles in the background, and there's not a shred of fabric in sight. Okay, what's this guy's name? Yeah, I remember.
Richard O'Connor from The
Yeah,
Mummy.
Rick. For me, it's just Brendan Fraser, but yes,
Yeah.
Rick O'Connor.
There are two Brendan Fraser characters on this list, so I had to separate them into the character
All right,
name.
let me just say Rick No, Rick O'Connor's probably shorter, and we need space. We need space. Okay, I think
God,
we're
there's
on
so many
Himbo.
himbos in the world.
Rick O'Connor. Yeah, baby. So,
Yes,
Mummy
from The
Himbo.
Mummy.
He's kind of similar to Trevor Belmont in that he's a very competent fighter and he's kind of edgy and cranky, but he is fundamentally so pure of heart and he loves the lady he hangs out with so much and it's very sweet. Chat, stop recommending my own characters. That's cheating. Anyway,
I I actually think that Rick O'Connor might not be a very good himbo. And it's not because I think that he is not a kind or good character, but I don't think he's quite dumb enough, or like
yeah.
he's got a little bit too much protagonist energy. A similar problem to Disney's Hercules, where like he's certainly like a strong lad, but he's not like super dumb. He generally is able to keep up with whatever's going on, no problem,
Yeah.
and he respects the woman that he's with, and he's generally kind, but he's a little too edgy and a little too sassy. I think he might be a D or an E tier himbo for me. I just don't think he's got all the traits that I'm looking. If I see him appear on screen, I'm not like, yeah, that's a himbo.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's the main character.
I agree. Yeah, I think he's got himbo qualities, but they don't really define him, you
Hmm.
know? Mostly it's just that he's, good looking and loves his wife.
Yes,
So,
he's a beautiful, beautiful man.
oh yeah. Just absolutely. I do
Hmm.
think that he's in this tricky gray area where he's got enough spice on him, enough edge to
Hmm.
not quite be
Yes.
a well-rounded himbo, as it were. But I don't know if I want to put him down in the D rank. I'd say maybe C tier. He's not super himbo-y, but he's pretty solidly himbo-y, you know?
But it's because he's kind of got a lot of the same problems that Disney's Hercules has for us. So I think maybe C tier is a solid place
Yeah.
to place him, because it's that C is the tier for protagonists.
Yeah, tier for protagonists who are kind and heroic, but also they've got enough protagonisty spice on them. It's nudge him in under there. Okay,
Hmm.
cool.
There's just a little bit of too much flavor to make them a
Ooh,
pure himbo.
we're starting to get to the characters that I added to this list.
Yes, we're starting to get to the part of the list where I don't necessarily know much about these characters, so I'm going to
Oh,
be going purely based off of the information that I've absorbed through Tumblr over the years. So
oh
let's see how this
no.
goes.
Hold on.
I don't know anything about this next one. This is going to be all you.
Good. All right, let's see how many chat people have watched an anime from the 90s. Probably several. So, for context, Slayers was an anime in the 90s. It had like a couple more seasons come out in the early 2000s with shinier animation. And it's very much it's like a D&D game got turned into an anime. You know, it's got that energy. They even describe class names at one point, and it's very funny. It's comedic, but it's got its moments of holy fuck, did that just happen? And one of the main characters, one of the two central characters, is this swordsman Gauri Gabriev, and he is very, very dumb. I've heard he is less dumb in the books that it's based on. Like, he's still obfuscatingly dumb, but he's not actually that dumb. Like, he's a little bit of a crouching moron, hidden badass. In the show, he is very badass. He's probably the best swordsman in the world, and he's got basically a lightsaber, which is quite cool. But he's extremely stupid. He's very no thoughts, head empty. And he's very pretty, and I love him very much. Also, he's voiced by the guy who later played Kaiba.
Oh my god.
Yeah, unfortunately, not very well. No offense to the man. It's just, you know, it was the 90s. Nobody was good at anime dubbing. It's just, there's a reason I watched this one subbed. It's because that way I can take it seriously and not hate everything that's going on. But yes, I'd say...
the 90s anime energy.
Yep. But I would say that Gowry is pure of heart, dumb of ass, respects women, regulation levels of pretty. And I am inclined to stick him in the S tier, but I realize I've been playing a little fast and loose with that one with my faves.
I mean, I know absolutely nothing about him, so
I mean,
this is one of those categories where, I mean, I think you've made a solid argument for him. I think he sounds a little bit like maybe an A tier himbo. I would hesitate to put him in S just again because I know literally nothing about the character.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I think, honestly, I could see it either way. I will say that...
and from the one picture you've sent me, he doesn't necessarily look so intensely beefy that I'm immediately like, that's a himbo.
Well,
like,
it's
he's
an anime, you know? Like, everyone's a little bit noodly. He's also quite tall, and he hangs out with the main character, Lena, who's, like, depending on which animator's doing it, like, as small as potentially half his height. So, like, he's the tallest member of the group, at least, even if he's not, you know, the widest. Although he is also the widest, because of those shoulder pads. Anyway, I don't know if this qualifies, but there's a pretty, like, emotionally impactful sub-arc where he is briefly brainwashed by a bad guy and is a terrifyingly destructive force of nature, which I think is quite cool, and I don't know if that adds or detracts from his himbo status, because it's kind of like, wow, if he weren't so dumb and nice all the time, he'd be so dangerous. I don't know. I'm okay with putting him in A tier. I don't necessarily want to stick anyone in the S tier that you can't sign off on.
Yes, this is, you know, I think A tier is a safe place.
Just close him down, and I'm just gonna remove the Slayers thing, because who the fuck is named Gowry? What other characters are named Gowry?
I cannot believe that that is how that name is pronounced. I've been looking at it all day and just being like, Goery.
No, in their defense, it was, you know,
Goery.
translated from katakana, and that's syllabic, so whatever. Okay. Oh, this next one is an uncontroversial pick, I believe.
Yes, I have. This is another one from a show that I have not seen, but who I was already aware is a very popular himbo, despite the fact that I have not seen this particular media property before.
It's not a show; it's a movie.
Movie.
You could watch it in 2 hours. It's quite good.
Huh.
Yeah. So Promare, an anime movie with really spectacular animation and some very nice effects. The premise is, you know, it's one of those standard near future, something crazy happened in the modern day, and here's, like, you know, some years on how things are working. Basically, some people developed fire-based superpowers and are using them to burn things, which is a no-no. And the main character, Gallo, is a firefighter, which basically means he get a robot suit and gets to literally fight fires, and he's great and very stupid. Well, he's not actually that stupid. That's part of what he's just got such big himbo energy. He almost seems stupid just because of how himbo-y he appears.
Some characters are just so pure of heart, dumb of ass, that they actually like negate the fact that they're actually quite intelligent and become even more himbo-ish despite not being necessarily dumb.
Yep, yep. It's also the thing that most people know about Promare is that it's like, wait, does it have like canon gay rep? Is that a thing? And it's like, it's more like, well, the relationship between Gallo and Leo, a villain turned not actually a villain at all, is, it's one of those, oh, they're the most important people in each other's lives. Read into that however you will. But there is also a very tender CPR scene that everybody really likes. So
that is one of the things that I didn't know about this movie before.
Yep. And I will say that having only been exposed to fan art of this movie before I watched it, I was like,
yeah.
Wow, she's so pretty. And then I watched the movie and the deepest voice came out of this diminutive green-haired person, and I was like, whoops.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm inclined to put this one in S rank, and chat was agreeing with me a while back.
Yeah, I'd say that it's hard for me to say anything definitively because I haven't seen the movie, but because I already knew that this guy was a very popular himbo, I think that he has enough of a himbo street cred to back up your S tier.
Himbo street cred. All right, I'll put him in S tier. You. Okay.
We're getting into the next couple ones that I'm pretty sure I added to the list.
Oh, hey, both of these have my full approval. Let's start with everybody's favorite. Just a minute. Himbo 18. God. Gosh. Imagine how much worse this would be if I was putting in the images.
Man, that's a technological jump that I do not know if we are ready for.
It's your boy, Joey Wheeler.
Hey!
Hey!
It's the Brooklyn Rage.
It's the Brooklyn boy. Everybody's favorite. All right. Can either of us do a Brooklyn accent, or are we just gonna go,
no!
Hey! Okay, awesome.
Hey!
Hey!
No, right. I cannot do a Brooklyn accent. I spent my whole life trying to hide my very intense Philly accent. I'm not about to add another version of Italian on top of that. You just kidding me?
Whoa, hot take alert. Brooklyn is just Italian in a silly hat. All right, Joey Wheeler.
Kinda is.
Yeah.
Joey Wheeler. We're not here to debate that. We're here to debate whether or not Joey Wheeler is a himbo.
Yeah. Joey Wheeler is, come on. Everyone in fucking chat. Yeah.
we know.
I'm gonna say that there's a couple problems I have with putting him in the top tier, which is that in the anime, Joey is more pure of heart, dumb of ass, but he's also not as, like, strong physically. He's much less of a powerhouse. In the manga, Joey is much more of an ass kicker. Like, they add these scenes in the anime where, like, Bandit Keith and Seto Kaiba, like Joey tries to throw a punch and they lay him out. In the manga, if there is a corresponding scene, it is usually Joey laying them out, and then the others being like, no, Joey, it's not worth it. And he's like, all right, let's do this through card games, I guess.
I do feel like, though, that touches on an important point, which is when considering beefiness in Yu-Gi-Oh!, do we go by whether or not they could throw a punch, or how good they are at children's card games?
Yeah. I will also say that part of the problem is that in the manga, Joey is not as nice. He character develops, but he starts off as, like, a full-blown antagonist, and he gradually improves and learns about friendship and shit. But, like, so if we go by the manga, he fits the power quota, but not the niceness quota. And if we go by the anime, he fits the niceness quota, but not the power quota. Also, Joey's primary role in the story is getting brainwashed. I don't know if that detracts.
It does happen a lot, doesn't it?
It's the gallery problem, It's like, does it say something about the himboness that when the himboness is removed, they become such a terrifying force of nature?
Yeah. I mean, look, like, we all love the Joey memes, right? Yeah. But I think what we have to really go by here is the Joey character. And I think you've brought up a lot of very good points that are not necessarily in favor of him being a pretty high-tier himbo.
Yeah. I would actually say that, just looking at how we've already ranked things, I'd say that Joey Wheeler, despite being, fun and funny, is, I think, less of a himbo than Seahawk and Bolin, So I'm inclined to put him in the C tier, to be completely honest. No shade to the man. I love him dearly, but, like...
Yes.
Yeah.
God, look,
He's got
Who,
enough mitigating
if you
factors.
watched Yu-Gi-Oh and you didn't love Joey Wheeler, you are lying to my face. You look
Yeah.
me in my eyes and you tell me that you do not think this brainwashed blonde dude was just a wonderful addition to the series. No,
I gotta say,
but
I watched the Capsule Monsters spinoff, and
oh man,
it's not good. I wouldn't recommend it, but it does have some peak brainwashed Joey content later on. It's
it's
like they
amazing
threw it
that
in.
there's so much brainwashed Joey content that you can have peaked brainwashed Joey content. And it's not just the one time; like it's
Well,
happened so many times.
look, what I will say is that Capsule Monsters has a lot of flaws, but because it's basically an isekai, it's not they're not resolving shit through card games. They're actually fighting monsters with swords and stuff sometimes, which is objectively more compelling than card games. So when Joey gets brainwashed in this one, he gets like a sick set of Red Eyes Black Dragon armor, and he and
Oh.
Yami have like a fight, and it's awesome. And yeah,
Can we
so
take a second here to talk about how Joey had the Red Eyes Black Dragon and Kaiba had the Blue Eyes White Dragon, yet they are not actually the core rivals of the show?
yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, what I like about that is that Kaiba is, of course, like, Yugi is my rival, and I don't care about any of these other nerds. And then Joey's like, hey Kaiba, does it bother you when I do this? Just takes control of the Blue Eyes White Dragon in a
Are
duel. It's
they?
like,
Is it supposed to imply that they are foils from each other?
no, I think it's just supposed to, like, I think it's just supposed to make it more interesting. Because the thing is, Yami doesn't really see Kaiba as his ultimate rival. He's too busy doing other shit, which means, like, it's like a rival triangle, like a true rival triangle. Kaiba thinks he's Yami's rival. Yami thinks Joey is his greatest friend slash rival, and Joey thinks Kaiba is his rival. It's so
Oh
funny.
man,
All right, who else is
that's
here?
the rival triangle. I mean, the next one is
Oh yeah. Chat's gonna love this
a
one.
classic.
They've been yelling about it since the beginning. Let me just pop
Mm-hmm.
this sucker in there. In the coveted role of Himbo 19. Probably closer to Himbo 22, but whatever.
Who's counting?
Not me. That's the problem. There he is, lads, the shonen hero to end all shonen heroes himself. Goku.
Goku.
I mean,
I mean, come on.
unconditionally pure of heart, dumb of ass. The
Yeah.
respecting women thing is a little tricky.
Mhm.
It's not that he goes out of his way to respect women. He is just too dumb not to. And when he's introduced in the beginning of the manga, he does not know what women are, having been raised solely by his adoptive grandfather, and is deeply confused by the premise. And this barely changes as he ages.
Yes. Somehow he does have a child, but like the mechanics of how that happened is a mystery to all.
Yeah. So, pure of heart, dumb of ass. I think that's correct. There is some slight problem that Goku is not quite as stupid as the fans might make it seem sometimes.
Yeah.
He is very dumb, but when it is a fight, he is quite tactical and shrewd sometimes, which I think is, worth noting.
Yeah, I think it's important again. Context. I'm broken record over here, but the Dragon Ball measure of intelligence is kind of more tactics, with maybe
Yeah.
the exception, like a few notable exceptions. So I would say that if Goku is consistently at least somewhat tactically adept, which he is, then he's maybe not necessarily the quite dumb enough to offset
Yeah.
the respecting women weirdness. He's still a very high tier himbo.
Yeah,
I don't know
well,
if he quite makes the S tier for me though.
I will say part of the problem is that while Goku is a very like innocent and benevolent person, this is sometimes not what the plot needs to go well. To the point where sometimes he'll be like, "Let's toss a sensu to my enemy." To make this fight more fair when the fucking fate of the world is at stake. It's like he's almost too dumb to be as benevolent as a himbo needs to be, Like I saw chat going as low as D tier recommending for this one, and I don't know how I feel about that, but I think part of the problem is like Goku, if you ignore the context, he's like a perfect himbo. But the problem is the world he lives in and the stuff he deals with sometimes requires maybe a little bit more emotional intelligence, something that Goku consistently does not have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you? I'm thinking maybe like a B or a C tier. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
he's not the blueprint, but he's close to it. Hmm.
Yeah, it's tricky. Sorry, I'm just chat abruptly stopped updating on my Streamlabs OBS, so I'm just making sure that nothing's gone catastrophically awry.
I'm also not seeing anything happening, so I suspect that that might just be.
Hmm. Well, hopefully it's okay. Anyway, yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
Himbos.
Yeah, where to put him? So let's see. You're watching the stream and things are updating, so we're
Yep.
probably good. Oh, this is so scary. Ah. All
Red
right.
and Indigo.
Terrifying.
Riding wild and free without blue to run the street like he usually
Oh,
does.
refresh chat. That's an option. Yes, please. Ah, nothing happened.
I believe we're just not getting any messages, which is
That's
totally fine.
seemingly very unlikely. I'm not gonna lie. It was flying before. Let me just reload this other page real quick and see what happens. Sorry, everybody, bear
So
with
for
us.
all of you who might be joining us in the middle of the stream, we are ranking himbos that have been pre-selected from a list we compiled by running our minds back through some favorite shows of ours, as well as just kind of Googling very good himbos. And I, while I can't necessarily recommend or tell you what to do in your free time, Googling good himbos gets some very fun search results.
Oh yeah. Huh, this is quite surreal.
um,
I'm still, yeah, like chat's almost fully live. We're not seeing new messages. Well, hopefully that's not interfering with people's ability to watch the stream. I wonder if that affects chat donations. Well, I guess we won't know. People are. I mean, it's very unlikely that everybody stopped mess. Anyway, sorry. Let's put Goku. Where did we decide?
I think we've been looking somewhere kind of like upper mid tier, but I don't know if we landed somewhere yet. So you got any thoughts?
You know what? I think that there are enough mitigating factors that I am willing to put him in as low as C tier. Like he looks perfect. It's just that, setting wise, he sometimes makes decisions that are dumb enough that it undercuts his own positivity, So, yeah, I'm thinking C tier. Just, in the same vein. Oh, sorry, chat just updated all at once. Oh my god, what's happening? Oh
Whoa.
god! Ah!
So much information. Oh,
Whoa!
it's back. Hello,
Now we're
chat.
flying.
Welcome.
Oh god.
Here
All right, all the
comes
chats
chat.
are like, oh, chat's broken. Oh, we're live. Okay, cool. Well,
It's
welcome back, everybody.
happening.
Jesus H. Christmas. All right, we're putting Goku in C tier and moving on. Woo! All right.
Wait, you censored the. You said Jesus H Christmas.
What? What?
I never. My brain. It's 1 a.m. where I am. My brain stopped processing for about 0.5 seconds there. Let's continue ranking Goku.
All right. Okay. Well, let's see. Who's next after? Oh, hey, this is a fun one. Let me just pop this bad boy in. Well, he's not a bad boy. This is a pretty good boy, actually.
Yeah.
Boop.
He's a nice lad.
A nice lad. Yeah. Well, mostly.
Well, I mean,
20-ish. And you know what?
he's an anime protagonist. It's a gray area for nice lad. It's a low bar for nice lad to clear.
Okay. Natsu Dragneel from Fairy Tail. It's been a while since I watched Fairy Tail, but Natsu is very much from the same mold as Goku. He's not very bright. He is ridiculously powerful. He's not really got the himbo build. He's a little more like slender and scrappy, but he is one of the most powerful mages around, as in traditional protagonist fashion. He's one of those hero types that gets stronger the more upset they get. So,
yes.
yeah, so it's one of those, no real upper limit on how powerful he needs to be. He is, one thing I really do like about Natsu is that where we had the problems with Goku, where a lot of the times he makes decisions that are generally bad for the world and his friends, Natsu does not do that. Because from the beginning of the show, there are like the 3 first arcs of the show are one of Natsu's friends has a problem and they have to fight it alone, and then Natsu shows up and solves it for them over their protests. And then they can be friends again, which is just so funny to me. Like, they do the exact same plot 3 times in escalating power levels, because like the first time it's, oh no, the edgy Lancer character Gray is going off on a vendetta to defeat the demon that killed his master, and Natsu steps in every single time Gray tries to heroically sacrifice himself and is like, "No, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna beat it up."
I don't know.
And then it's, "Oh no, Lucy's shitty rich family are trying to get her away from the guild, and they hired another evil guild." And Lucy's like, "I'll sacrifice myself so nobody else gets hurt." And Natsu's like, and hear me out on this one, we just punch everybody. And then they did the same thing with Urza. I don't even know what the show did after that. It doesn't matter. Come on.
It sort of just repeated itself infinitely, like an Ouroboros eating its own tail.
Yeah.
Just sort of repeated a lot of the same ground. But
Yeah.
no, I agree with you. I think Natsu is a very, and kind of like many shonen protagonists, well, doesn't necessarily have the build of the himbo, but is powerful enough to qualify as one and has the personality and general thought pattern of one.
Yeah.
So I think he loses points because he is not quite beefy enough to be a true himbo, but all of the other qualities we're looking for are pretty much there.
I'd say
So I would think he's a pretty upper, like mid upper tier,
Yeah,
like maybe like a B.
I'm cool putting him in B tier. I will say that one other caveat is that because he's like stamped from the Goku mold, but there's a few variations. One of them is that Natsu is the type who gets angry easily. And one thing that's interesting about Goku is that is not true.
Right.
Like that's why it's such a big deal in the Saiyan saga, the Frieza saga, when he goes Super Saiyan for the first time, where it's like Goku has finally gotten pissed enough to unlock his genetic memory and wreck shop.
Yes.
But Natsu gets mad all the time. He is a fire mage that is pretty basic. So I'm gonna say we can put him in B tier. It might be a little bit generous, but I think it works. Just close him down.
Yeah,
Slot him in there. Boop. Okay. Let's see who's. Oh, this is a fun one.
One of our gals representing.
Gonna need to hear from you on this one. I have watched Sailor Moon, but not far enough to introduce Sailor Jupiter. So.
Wait, that's like episode 4, dude.
No, they introduced Sailor Mercury and Sailor Mars first. But
pretty quickly in season 1.
Well, I haven't watched that far, okay? I got 11 episodes in or something. Why are you judging me, man? I'm busy.
I don't know, man. What are we here for if not to judge things? I'm just sort of extending that attitude everywhere.
Okay. So, Sailor Jupiter, what I know about her is that she is tall, and that's it. So, how does she fit as a himbo?
Yes, I think that Sailor Jupiter is the most himbo-ish of all of the Sailor Moon characters, but is not necessarily a very high tier himbo. And here's why. Sailor Jupiter, she is the sailor for Jupiter, which is sort of like lightning associated in the show. And generally her main role in the team is to hit hard, which is a pretty typical role for a himbo to fall into. And she does, the smart one is Sailor Mercury. And Sailor Jupiter is not necessarily dumb, but she's pretty straightforward, I would say. She's kind of just helping her friends. She's, supporting her gals.
Right, of course.
And then she's fighting crime. And she, even outside of, being a Sailor Scout, she gets kind of recruited to the team because she's standing up against some bullies, which is a very himbo thing to do.
Heck yeah.
Himbos support the himbos do not support bullying.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like she's got the build, if you squint, and the benevolence down. But
yes,
is she dumb? This is important.
That's where I think she's losing points, because I don't think that she is necessarily dumb. I think she's just straightforward. Jupiter doesn't have a ton of depth is the wrong word, but there's not too much. I mean, some of it is that there's not a ton of necessarily thematic depth going on in any character in Sailor Moon. They all have arcs and stuff, but it's a magical girl anime from the 90s. I love it, but
I'd say
character development is not.
She sounds like a great character, but I don't know if that really qualifies her very high on the himbo list, honestly.
Yeah.
So I put her in
she falls into a similar. I kind of think she falls into a similar place as James from Pokemon, where great character, not necessarily ticking enough of the himbo boxes to rank really high on the himbo list.
Alrighty, then let's just squoze her down there. Boop. Now James
her
has
bottom
some
of
company.
The chart. Oh.
No, she's a great character, and Chad tells me she has a lot of talent. But
she does.
Okay. And now our second Brendan Fraser character.
Of course. And this is one that I think this is a shoe-in for a
Oh yeah,
high tier himbo right here. George of the
absolutely.
motherfucking jungle.
Yeah, baby. Here he
Oh
goes.
man.
And uh, watch out for that tree. Okay, George of the Jungle. Oh god, we're only halfway down the list. We might need to speed this up a little bit so we're not up well
Yeah.
past bedtime.
George is I think an easy one for us to place. I
Yeah.
personally, I think he's S tier. I think he checks all the boxes I'm looking for in a himbo. Is he beefy? Yes. Is he dumb of heart, pure of ass? Yes. Does
Dumb
he
of heart,
respect women?
pure of ass.
Hell yeah.
Hold on.
Wait, what order is this supposed to go?
Pure of heart, dumb of ass, but I will also accept dumb of heart, pure of ass.
Oh no.
It's getting a little
You know what?
late.
Yeah, I'm doubling down on it. He's both ways you want to either way you want to go. I think he checks off all the boxes.
I mean, that's fine by me. I'm down to put him in the S tier, which is getting a
And
little crowded.
in a wonderful twist of fate, one of the rare examples of the elusive female gaze. So I think.
Oops. Oh no. I've ruined everything. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, good. I'm glad we've recovered from that.
I just moved the tier list instead of the text box. We've just got too many excellent himbos on this list. Get in there. Oh no, I'm getting them too close together.
The thing is, when we started making a list of himbos, it quickly spiraled because they're like, wow, there's so many good himbos on this. There's so many good possibilities.
This is he's still off the edge. If I shorten it to George, nobody's gonna know what I'm talking about. Oh, whatever. He's George of the Jung now. We're calling it. All right, who's next? Oh, goody. This is fun.
Oh, good.
Let me just.
I think you can just type Brock and everyone will know what show he's from. There's not that many Brocks out there.
Yeah.
Brock from Pokemon. We're getting our second Pokemon character of the evening. Oh, I see the chart moves. Oh, I keep forgetting I'm a few seconds behind you, so like
Okay,
there's
there we
slight
go.
like text box alterations. Indigo for the himbo list chat, please. I'm not a himbo.
No.
I'm not beefy enough to be a himbo.
Okay, so
dumb maybe. Brock,
No.
yes.
Yeah, so I did not grow up watching Pokemon. I obviously know about it. Pop culture osmosis.
Well, I sure did. Brock and his trusty frying pan. Is he beefy compared to Ash, a literal 10-year-old? Sure. Is he dumb? I think, again, we're falling into the same trap of dumb versus straightforward. Because Brock is a character who is explicitly training to, like, be a Pokemon breeder and, like, get to know how to care for Pokemon well. And I think that is actually requires, in the Pokemon universe at least, quite a bit of intelligence. So I think Brock is kind of a low-tier himbo, because while I respect how straightforward he is, and he is arguably beefy, I don't necessarily know. He's losing in similar places that James and Sailor Jupiter were where it's like, I don't know if you're quite dumb enough to be a pure himbo. I would place him a little higher than them, though. I think he's maybe a D tier entry because
yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, literally, like, all I know from Brock, I've absorbed from Pokemon pop culture, and most people don't talk about him very much.
So, yes, look, he also does not respect women as much as he should.
Ooh, that's no good.
He hits on every woman who appears on screen, particularly Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny in their various iterations. But
well, I think chat's going to approve of this next one.
Oh, this next one's we gotta. Oh, baby.
His name. There he is. The boy himself. Zagreus.
Zagreus, Hades game.
Yeah, Zagreus, Hades game. So Zagreus is again one of these weird cases like Trevor Belmont, where it's like he's edgy, but he is also pure of heart, dumb of ass, respecting of women, etc., etc. Well, is he respecting of women? I think he is.
I'd say
but
yes.
Mostly, they beat him
does
up.
he? That's the thing. Does he have to fight the Furies to the death multiple times? Yes, but he's never really rude about it.
He's a little bit catty sometimes. I do think that Zagreus is.
To be fair, they do express explicit joy in murdering him as well. So if he gets a little catty about it, I feel like we can maybe.
That's fair. I guess the problem is he dumb? I don't think Zagreus is dumb. I think he's very driven and I mean, admittedly, that doesn't have anything to do with how smart he is. But Yeah, I think the thing is he is quite nice and polite, but he's not stupid, like, at all. So I think that maybe bumps him down just a little bit. Like, he's great, you know, he's very fun. Tumblr certainly thinks he's extremely hot.
I mean, Tumblr's right, okay?
Oh
Not
yeah,
about
yeah.
everything, but Zagreus is hot. As a fan of the Hades character designs in general, there's various hot people and everyone in that game is hot. That's not a hot take. Zagreus is one of the hottest ones, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
my hot take.
Right. I think that he's great. I don't know. I mean, I think he is a himbo. It's just how good of a himbo
Yes.
is he?
Having played through the whole game, including the, not gonna spoil the plot, but I got out of the underworld 10 times and saw the final, like,
Right.
ending of it, the
Yeah.
true ending. Zagreus isn't dumb enough to be an S tier himbo,
Right.
but I think that he is dumb enough to be an A tier himbo because it's not necessarily that he's stupid, but he does take a while to put together some of the clues that he's gathered.
Uh,
And I
that's
like,
fair.
is he driven enough to try and get out of the underworld and sense that something is wrong? Yes, but is that intuition versus intelligence then? I
Mm,
think it's more for him. He knows he has to do something and he knows that what he does is bust his way out of the underworld. He
that's
doesn't
fair.
necessarily put together his next steps by himself. He just sort of really is. Don't quote me as saying Tumblr is right, chat. Get that. Wipe those words from your mouth.
Get that shit out of here.
Get that
I'm
weak shit off
inclined
my
to put him
chat.
in B tier just because it's less crowded than the A tier. But that's just me. I have to arrange these things.
I think we can go with the solid B tier. Well, I think he's his intelligence is what's dragging him down.
Yeah, he's great. It's just he doesn't come across as a himbo. He just comes across as very nice and polite and kind, except to his
Yes,
dad. But fuck him.
except to his dad.
Okay,
But
let's see.
daddy issues is a core theme of the game, so we had to roll with that.
We're not going to be able to fit all these guys, I think.
It's okay.
Let me just
I think that we'll
expose this bad boy in here and add a new source. I'm getting really good at this. Oh, this muscle
just start
memory.
typing the text in black, and then we can put it on the side of the chart.
That is a good point. Give me a hot second.
I mean,
You know what? I can actually do you one better. I can do it so it'll technically be readable no matter where we put it. Or unreadable, depending on where we put it.
God.
I think that made it worse, actually. Let me fix that.
Yes, remember me for dumb of heart, pure of ass. That's the quote from the stream I want you to remember. Not Tumblr was right. Stop this.
Put this one in white.
Chat, no.
Okay, so Yamcha. I'd say that Yamcha is
Yamcha.
an easier himbo than Goku because Goku has all those caveats where, like, he's very dumb, but that makes him sometimes kind of almost malevolent. Whereas Yamcha is pure of heart, regular human levels of dumb rather than Goku's level of transcendent dumb. And he's pretty, and I'll stand by that. I
But
liked it
does
when
he
he had long
respect
hair.
women? That's
know?
the thing.
It's a little bit tricky. In the manga, when Yamcha is initially introduced, his weakness is that he is incredibly flustered around women. They scare him because he likes them too much. So he can't talk to Bulma. And of course, Bulma is, at this point, her only characterization is that she's looking for a boyfriend. This is like first arc of Dragon Ball levels of lore. Like when Bulma is the Tripitaka figure and Yamcha is the Sandy figure. Like that's the point we're at in the story. And she's like, when I get the Dragon Balls, I'm gonna wish for a boyfriend. And when Yamcha's like, when I get the Dragon Balls, I'm gonna wish to be able to talk to women. And then they solve their problems mutually without needing the Dragon Balls. So I think he does respect women-ish. Here's the problem. Toriyama as a writer doesn't really seem to know how to write women.
Yes,
So
it's the
there's
shonen issue.
Yeah, Bulma has gotten a lot more interesting in recent movies, but early on, especially when she was like just this 16-year-old girl, like boy chaser who thought that everyone was in love with her. I mean, that is a difficult kind of character to respect, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
So he's
I
definitely
don't know.
not S tier, but
I would hesitate to put Yamcha higher than Goku because I think they kind of have some similar issues, just
Mm.
from the series that they're in. But again, I don't want to
Wait,
necessarily.
sorry. Chat, did Yamcha actually cheat? For some reason, I thought that was an abridged series joke. I think if he cheated, he's definitely below Goku.
Yeah,
Goku doesn't even understand gender, and he's faithful to his wife. Hmm.
Yeah, I hesitate to put Yamcha too high. I don't know if I'm as beholden to him being a true himbo as you are on this one. I think D or E at least for me.
That's fair.
Um,
We can put him down. I guess the thing is, if he canonically cheats on his girlfriend, I'm cool with putting him in E tier or F tier. Uh,
should we round out F tier here?
I
You
mean,
know,
may as well.
I just we don't OSP does not condone cheating on your significant other.
No, definitely not. Get out of here,
Himbos
Yamcha.
don't cheat.
Yeah. Okay.
If you cheat, you can't be a
And
himbo.
cheaters never himbo. Okay.
Cheetos.
Stop. Hey, you put my version of Sun Wukong on this list. Don't think I didn't
I
notice.
did because yeah.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. We're skipping ahead a
We'll
little
get
bit.
there.
Hold on.
The next
Okay.
himbo we've got is one that I love so much. This is one of my
Yes.
favorite boys on this list. I love this funky little lad.
Let me just put this bad boy in there. This one actually is kind of a bad boy.
But is he?
He is. I'll stand by that. There he
But
is.
does he become a good boy?
Oh,
That's
he
the
becomes a
question.
good boy, sure, but when he's introduced, Soren from the Dragon Prince, the character we're discussing, he's kind of a bad boy, you know? He's kind of a
Yeah.
bully and like he's loyal and heroic, but he's also kind of a dick.
Yeah, he's introduced as an antagonist to our main trio of intrepid heroes, and through the first two seasons or so, he really maintains that antagonist status. But much in a similar way to Alex Louis Armstrong, the aforementioned war criminal,
Yes.
Soren is fundamentally at his heart trying to do the right thing, and what he thinks is the right thing for much of the series is what his father wants. But as soon as he realizes that the institution he has been following, aka his father, is not actually having the betterment of the world at heart, he changes sides and he begins to fight for the good guys, all while maintaining the same level of dumbness, the same level of beefiness, and I think that puts him in at least the A tier. Also, he's so dumb that there's so much evidence to cite. Like, where do I even begin? What lines do we quote to show Soren's intelligence? He
Chat's
at one
fond of
point in the
bread
series.
sandwich.
I mean, bread sandwich is incredible. He's at one point sneaking one of the characters out of a castle in a cart full of hay, and there's a little like lizard with them that glows in the dark, and it's glowing inside the hay. And he's walking past some guards, and they're like, "The hay's glowing," and he's like, "Sure is." And I'm like, "Wow, improv."
Oh, love him so much.
Love him so much.
Yeah,
He's bad
I'm
at
willing to put
poetry.
him-
I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course. I'm willing to put him in the A tier. I think just because he was, well, here's the thing. This is a matter of circumstance, kind of similar to Scorpia. Soren is raised in an environment that makes him very insecure, and this leads him to take some unhimboly actions. You know, the whole he does take a very long time to figure out that his dad is evil. Oh man, sorry. I've got so many thoughts on how the Dragon Prince handled that whole hot mess.
Oh
but
man.
yeah, I think Soren is in this weird position where I think he doesn't fully like improve as a person until he has a bit of a personal darkest hour, you know, when he kind of gets paralyzed fighting that dragon, which he shouldn't have been doing. You see the problem? Like he made some unhimboly decisions, and he developed into an excellent himbo. It's just, you know, we have been considering like he took unhimboly actions before that, whereas with Armstrong it's like part of what motivated him to like have his breakdown and stop was how himboly he was down to his core, whereas Soren, once he stopped being actively malevolent, the true himbo nature began to assert itself. But he was in an environment that like encouraged him to be kind of toxic and bully and stuff, so I'm a little more inclined to put him in like a high B maybe. He's not quite as pure of heart as David from Lilo and Stitch, for instance. So,
but, oh god, I forgot about he was on this list.
After you went to bat for him so hard.
I mean, look, I love David. Come on, man.
Oh, of course.
Another hunky animated man, but No, I'm
Hmm.
trying to decide how much I want to go back for Soren here because while I do think that he is a high tier himbo, I think a high B is a safe place to put him.
Let me just rearrange some of these bad boys for.
Just because as you mentioned, he did develop into an incredible himbo, but in the first season in particular, he does make take many actions that are not himbo-ly,
Yeah. What I do
even
like
if they
though,
are covering extenuating circumstances.
what I like about watching the Dragon Prince is that like everyone's character design is the most stereotypical thing imaginable for their later character development. So like Soren is introduced as this like blonde, handsome knight in shining armor, and he's a dick, and his sister is introduced as this like dark, witchy goth, and she's a really nice person, and then, you
Yeah,
know.
they really said you want to predict where everyone's gonna end up in a few seasons? Just look at their costumes. They're
Yep.
not gonna change much.
Yeah. I'm okay with I'm okay with A or B now that I've rearranged things enough that there's room to fit. Uh but
Wait a minute, were we just not considering him for the A category because things
look,
wouldn't
man,
fit
if
in
you
the
want to try to
box?
wrangle this, all right, I'm just gonna slap him in the A tier. But now we are officially running out of room.
Yeah,
I worry that if I resize this to be bigger, I'm gonna need to rearrange everybody by hand, and I don't want to do that. Uh,
we'll just start going off of the chart, like just off to the side, like in a line
yeah,
in different font colors. He'll figure it out.
that's yeah.
It's not about the aesthetics, it's about the
It's about
himbos.
the aesthetics to me. I'm gonna do this and slowly rearrange everybody by hand. Oh, this is going so well. All right, Kronk, get over there. All right, well, while I'm doing this, let me load up the next one so we can debate while I'm doing that.
Yes. So the next himbo we're discussing
I got it.
is another Disney classic, Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story.
Yeah. I have no
Now,
idea what number we're on at this point. Just gonna.
it
Get...
just does it.
It matters to me.
It's all himbos to me, you know? Is that line supposed to be it's all j jazzed? No, that's wrong.
No, it's all Greek to me,
Huh.
or it's all that
Oh,
jazz.
duh. Why would I think it's all jazzed? Uh...
Hey, kid, you like Greek? Okay, hold on.
No, I've tried to learn it many times. It's a difficult language to
Oh,
speak.
it's a good thing Blue's definitely asleep by now.
I
Like a
know, right?
responsible
Uh,
adult.
so yeah, Buzz Lightyear. I think that Buzz becomes less of a himbo as the movie goes on. I think he actually does an inverse Alex, Louis Armstrong, and Soren, where they become more himbo-ish as the series progresses. I think that Buzz starts as a classic himbo, but
Mm.
he becomes too complex by the end to still qualify as a high tier himbo. And I'm interested to hear your input on this because it's been a very long time since I watched a Toy Story movie.
Sorry, I'm about to try doing a little sneaky sneak. Let me. Nobody freak out. It's okay. I just got a second copy of the tier list so that I can stretch it out. Um,
Oh,
but
funky.
yeah, I think Buzz Lightyear is in this weird position where there's so many versions of his character because there's the version from the movies and then there's the version of
Hmm.
from Buzz Lightyear Star Command, the show that's allegedly about the character the action figure is based on. And
Hmm.
I haven't watched that one, so I can't weigh in, and I'm not sure why I brought it up.
I did watch it. I think he's less of a himbo in the show because he's more of a main character. See, he's falling into a similar category, I think, in both iterations. For me, at least, as Disney's Hercules and Rick O'Connor, where he certainly has some himbo traits, but because he is an important character, arguably a main character in his particular franchises, he has to be too complex to be a high tier himbo.
Yeah, I think he's interesting because, as I recall, he's kind of initially a foil to oh my god, let me select the text box. Sorry. You can't see it, but I've been trying to click on these text boxes and instead it's been selecting like the bottom video layer or the overlay of our plushies, and it's just like, why are you doing this to me? Anyway, he's kind of a foil to Woody, who's a little bit more like actively malicious in the first because he's just
Hmm.
so afraid of being abandoned. And in order for that to happen, he needs to be kind of dumb and oblivious. So
Yes.
that's something. But he does also have a full blown existential crisis about it. I don't know if you can have a full blown existential crisis that deep while also being a himbo, because that implies a level of self awareness that most himbos do not possess.
Yes. I would say pre-existential crisis, he's a classic himbo, but post-existential crisis, which is unfortunately where Buzz almost exclusively exists for most of the time he's been on screen,
Yeah.
he's not all that high of a himbo.
No. I think, I think we could put him in the C tier easily. He's got a
Yeah.
lot of himbo traits, but overall he just doesn't quite fit the vibe.
Yeah, I think C is a solid pull. He's with the other protagonists.
Yeah, get in there, you crazy guy. All
Get
right,
in there.
scooch.
Get in there, you quirky kids.
Alrighty.
This next one, oh baby.
This one I think I protested adding to the list, and I'll defend that in just a second. Once I get this text box underway. Okay. Now, this is specifically the version of Sun Wukong from Journey to the West, not the version of
Yes.
Sun Wukong from Ruby or any other show that just took Sun Wukong and
Yes.
put them in it.
We're going back to one of the great novels. Okay,
Yes.
we're talking about the Shioji, the Journey to the West.
Now, I will
That's
say
our son.
that Sun Wukong, I don't think he's very much of a himbo. I think he is strong, which is, of course, an important factor. But in canon, everyone thinks he's an ugly, scary little monkey man with a face like a thunder deity. So he's not hot, and he is the metaphorical personification of the mind. So he's not dumb. And in fact is consistently the most observant and intelligent member of the party who makes the least stupid decisions. So I'd go as far as to say that if we're ranking him as a himbo, he's like bottom tier, just because he's not really a himbo, I think. But you put him on this list, so I'm curious to hear.
Yes, I think it's important to discuss him in the context of himbos because he is the archetype for so many shonen protagonists who are themselves actually quite good himbos. But like you mentioned, he is quite intelligent throughout the series, or at least intuitive, I would argue.
Yeah.
He tends to be able to read a situation pretty quickly, even if he's not necessarily like developing a new theory. He's certainly, I would say, beefy enough to be a himbo, but in terms of like attractiveness, if we're going by the text, which of course we are, because we are nothing if not true to the text on this channel.
Right.
He is, as you mentioned, a funky, ugly monkey man.
Yeah,
so I would agree in putting him pretty low tier in terms of himbo-ness, but I think he belongs on the list because of the important point of comparison he provides, if nothing else.
Yeah, I guess it's tricky because he did inspire so many shonen protagonists, but almost all shonen protagonists don't retain the most important part of his character, which is that he is so smart and observant. So sometimes they kind of make protagonists that are like dumb but surprisingly observant when they need to be. So like Goku being really tactically smart, or like I keep wanting to reference One Piece, but I haven't watched it, and I know if I bring that up, a million people are going to jump.
Which One Piece character are you thinking?
Luffy.
Because I have watched One Piece, so I think I can. Luffy. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's. I mean, he's the exact Goku archetype. You know, all he cares about is food, fighting, and friendship. Luffy is, I believe, canonically ace too, which is one of those things that like most of the Wukong alikes have, whether or not the author seems to realize that's what they wrote in. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just that like Luffy comes across as not very smart, but sometimes he's like startlingly good at what he does. Classic crouching moron.
Yeah, he's sort of a one-note wonder where you're like, oh, okay, Luffy is going to be tactically equipped enough to beat someone's ass, but he's not necessarily going to be solving any of the world's problems anytime soon.
So I'm thinking that despite it creating a large space of anime himbos, I think that Sun Wukong himself is like nearly bottom tier himbo wise.
I would put him maybe at E only because I think F is where our problematic bays are hiding out right now.
Sun Wukong is not as bad as Yamcha or JFK Clone High version specifically.
Yes. I can't believe we have to specify that.
I don't want anyone messing this one up. Okay, all right. Let's get this basic himbo out of the way and then move on to someone.
Yeah, put him at E. Put on to some little. We're getting close to the. I mean, like I said, we're getting close to the end.
We've got so many more, but we're gonna speed this one up. I think. Let me just get this bad boy in, because now we have to deal with Kristoff from Frozen. He's hot. He's not very smart. He's not particularly strong. But that's because Frozen doesn't exactly have much in the way of hand-to-hand combat. I think that Kristoff is a solid like C rank himbo in that it's like he looks the part, but he doesn't really get to play the role in the story.
Yeah, I would say that, he's knocked down a little bit. A similar problem to Troy Bolton, where in the first movie, I don't think he's as much of a himbo as he is in the sequel.
Hmm.
Where I mean, look, Jonathan Groff's song "Lost in the Woods."
Oh, banger! Such a good
Maybe
song.
whoever on the crew was like, "We gotta give him like an '80s ballad, right?" And everyone
Yep.
said yes, and we all moved on.
Well, it's
Uh,
because they got a fucking Broadway singer, and then the only musical number they gave him is "Reindeer Are Better Than People," and then they were like,
oh
"We're so
God,
sorry, Mr.
don't even
Groff.
get me
How do
started.
we make this up to you?" And they were like, "I want a Queen style power ballad, and I want to do all the
Yes,
backing tracks myself." And they're like, "Okay." So
yes.
yeah, no, it's great, and
um,
that song is amazing, and I love it. But yeah, I think
yeah, I think solidly in the C tier.
yeah,
He's just is he pure of heart, dumb of ass?
he's pure of heart, sure, but he's not that
Yes, he's
dumb.
pure of heart for sure, but he's not necessarily that dumb.
Yeah.
He's pretty quick at reading situations, and he starts out a little bit more like snarkier and jaded, and becomes more of a himbo as time goes on. So C, I think, is a good spot to end
Yep.
up.
Let me just set up the next one because this one is something chat was yelling about for a while, and I think they'll be pleased. There he is, Knuckles the
There
Echidna.
he is. Knuckles the Echidna. And specifically, the image I pulled for this was the Sonic Boom Knuckles is voiced
Yeah,
by Travis Willingham
right,
because
yeah.
it's Travis Willingham, and this is not his only character on the
No, no,
list.
Travis Willingham is very good at playing himbos.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so Knuckles the Echidna, specifically post Travis Willinghamification. I
Hmm.
think Knuckles is a very solid himbo, especially in Sonic Boom, where they kind of I think they made him dumber. I think initially he was a bit more
They
of like
did.
an antagonist, like sort of a Lancer type, and then they made Shadow the Hedgehog the crystallized form of all Lancer archetypes, and then Knuckles got kind of bumped off his pedestal, and now he's just like Sonic's friend. So,
Yes. So
um,
here's the thing.
mm-hmm.
We got to debate this one a little bit because I think if we say that this is just Sonic Boom Knuckles, then he's like an A tier himbo.
Right, yeah.
But if this is a Knuckles the Echidna from any series prior to that, he is more of an antagonist than he is
Yeah.
just like a dumb friend. He was frequently like, so he sort of they sort of have that problem where a lot of antagonists that become protagonists fall into, where it's like, I was your enemy until you beat me up, and now we're just kind of like tagging along a
Yep.
bunch and
Now we're
settling
bros.
into grumpy heroism.
Uh-huh.
Um, which is not the case in Sonic Boom, but is the case in pretty much every other Knuckles iteration.
Yeah.
So I think the question we have to answer before we can place him on this chart is, which Knuckles are we talking about?
I think, with all the other characters that have multiple versions, we've looked at the top-down version, kind of the aggregate.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's only fair if we're looking at Knuckles, we got to consider all the versions. So like even though he's reached his peak himbo form,
Yes.
eponymized in the line, just because I'm a meathead doesn't mean I'm not a feminist, or doesn't mean is that the right number of negatives? I think that's the correct number of
just
negatives.
just because I'm a meathead doesn't mean I'm not a feminist.
I think that's the correct number of, yeah, I think that's right. Because you see, he is a meathead and he is also a feminist, which
Yes,
is
he's
just like,
drinking his respect women juice, which is again a quality we're looking for in a himbo.
right, I think that's really all you need. But because of the previous versions of Knuckles that were a little more edgy, a little more lancery, I think we could put him in B tier if we wanted to. Like, he's a really solid B. But like,
Yeah,
he's
I think
not
that's a
quite.
generous reading of past versions, but considering the aggregate, B is a good spot to
Yeah,
stick
yeah,
him.
yeah. It's like Thor has always been at least a little bit himbo-y, but like Knuckles developed
Hmm.
into the himbo role after being a solid lancer for a while. Um,
Yeah, they realized that they had Shadow hanging around. They're like, well, we don't really need an edgy antagonist anymore.
there is a
We've
Sonic
got this
Boom
dude.
episode called the one where Shadow shows up.
Ha!
I'm looking through this
Oh,
and there's a lot of
incredible.
characters in here from shows I haven't watched from the here on out, so let's just
Okay, we can also, if there's I think there's a few key ones we got to get, but we can skip through some of them as well. There's a
it's all
few who
good.
were just kind of added to pad out the list that I don't
I don't
necessarily
think we
think
needed to
need to.
pad it. No,
Yeah, I wasn't sure how long this was. I wasn't sure if we would be flying through these or if it would take a long time to
come
debate. But
on.
clearly, what we've learned is that what we already knew, which is if you put Red and Indigo together on a stream and you say, talk about media, they'll just go.
We'll just go. Okay. As we cross the 2-hour mark, let's discuss Troy from
Woo!
Community, a show I have not
Troy
watched.
from Community. Yes, I watched Community. Troy is
Good.
a frequent flyer on these himbo lists. Look, Troy is a former jock. He's very dumb. and he just kind of wants to support his friends, and he's trying to be a good kid at heart. He has a few moments where he's maybe not drinking his respect women juice, but overall is pretty
Hmm.
much on board. Of the community characters, he probably respects women the most, below maybe Abed.
Hmm.
Um, and he qualifies as a beefy kid in the context of the show because he's the only jock on the
Right.
entire
That's fair.
squad.
I guess how benevolent is he?
He's pretty benevolent unless you wrong him. So
Hmm.
there's a few episodes plots where like someone wrongs Troy and then he gets back at them, but usually it's through quirky hijinks because it's a sitcom. Uh, so I would say in terms of benevolence, if you consider his benevolence and you consider in particular like his friendship with Abed, uh, how he interacts with the ladies of the squad and his relative beefiness, he's probably like a solid B tier pull, you know? He's
Chat's
not the
been
himbo to
saying
end all himbo.
Well, sorry,
Uh,
Chat's been saying anything down from C to F tier, so I feel like there's got to be layers to this character we're not covering. Um,
I mean, the show ran for a while, so
oh,
you could get
okay.
into specifics of particular episodes. Uh, he gets smarter as the show goes on, so I guess that's a
Mm.
point probably against him. I'm trying to remember specific. It's been a while since I watched Community, so I am trying to remember any specific Troy incidents. Um,
I guess let's
you
see.
know,
Mostly I've just seen that one GIF where he comes in with the pizza and everything's on fire. And that feels like
yeah.
a true himbo reaction would be blissful ignorance rather than no. But that's just that's just me.
hmm
Um,
hmm
yeah, I think we can slap him in B or C, no problem, and move on with our
Yeah, I
lives.
would say I think he's a solid B. I
Okay,
think split the difference.
boop,
Um,
right under knuckles. There he goes.
I think we can maybe skip the next three and just
Okay,
go right into
great.
our
Right
first
into
of the
one from
D&D characters. One of
medium
the
to
ones that I
major.
think is one of the best himbos on this
Oh,
list.
honestly, this is like I consider this one to be the platonic ideal of a himbo, to be completely
hmm
honest. And that himbo is once I type it in, there it is. Nope, that's okay.
One,
Ricky Matsui
Ricky
from
Matsui.
College Humor's
Mr.
Dimension 20.
Mach.
Mr.
Mr.
Mach.
Mach himself.
Ricky Matsui is hot,
God.
dumb, and a paladin, so he's very good at fighting. And I think the best defense of putting him in the S tier where he rightfully belongs is that the way that they specced out his
hmm
character
hmm
is that he is statted up like he's wearing full plate, but he doesn't wear any armor. That's just how beefy he is. And the corresponding massive penalty to stealth checks is justified by the fact that he is so hot that people just can't look away. And I think that combination of traits tells you everything you need to
Everything
know
you need to
about
know.
Ricky Matsui.
Everything. And we know he respects women because he has a great relationship that is canonically existing in the show.
Oh, it's so sweet. I
That
love it.
he never pressures anyone to get into. He's just like, we're gonna take this on your pace. Like, I think you're very cute.
Yeah.
No pressure. It's
Yeah.
excellent. Ricky is an S tier himbo. There's not even a debate on this one.
And what I
Like,
love about that
put him up
specifically
there.
is that they keep like he keeps rolling like perception checks when he's dealing with his love interest, and he rolls so badly, so all he knows is that like she's making an expression but he can't tell what it is. And it's not until like the final episode of season 1 where it's like
Yeah.
where she
The
like
final
breaks down in
battle.
tears talking about how he's so hot and she wants to bone him so bad, and it's just like, oh, those were the facial expressions she was making.
Which is a very himbo way to read the situation,
It's so good. All right.
He's S tier. He's S tier.
He's
There's
S
no
tier
debate.
easily. Next up,
Easy S tier.
let me just
Grog Strongjaw.
Grog
I can't do
Strongjaw.
a Travis
Grog
Willingham voice. My
Strongjaw. No,
voice is not
neither of
low
us
enough
can.
for
Come
that.
on. There he is. Grog Strongjaw, the archetypical Goliath barbarian.
Yes.
Now Grog is very dumb, and he is. I hesitate to say, and he's hot because I think he's mostly just really beefy, and that's like a different
Yes.
value judgment. But he's extremely beefy. Uh,
Yes.
it's the question of how benevolent he is that's tricky.
Yeah, I
He's
think,
very
you
sweet.
mentioned that Grog is the archetypical Goliath barbarian, and if we consider what that typically is, at least in the context of like D&D, when you think of, okay, Goliath barbarian, it's head empty, live to fight, potentially kind of mean, like not necessarily
Yeah.
like malicious, but if you exist to get angry and fight, you're usually not doing that out of a place of joy and kindness. It's
Yeah.
typically because you have a rage and a lust for battle inside you. And Grog uh doesn't have that to a T, but it certainly skirts the line at times. He certainly cares about his friends. He
Yeah.
explicitly has a lot of arcs of his own in the game that revolve around his interactions with particularly Scanlan and Pike.
I
Um,
will also say that Grog has an entire arc where he uses a cursed sword that he knows is evil just to fuck
yes.
around, and is kind of butthurt when they get rid of it, even though it physically killed him at one point. And it's like,
hmm
that's a very dumb thing to do, but is that a himbo thing to do?
It
um,
skirts that line because again, it's stupid, but if
yeah.
you know it's evil, then the pure of heart part,
Yeah.
you lose in a few points.
So he's like
Um,
he's good-hearted in that he has a sense of right and wrong, but I don't know if it's a
mhm.
fully accurate sense of right and wrong.
Yes, he jumps to murder a little too quickly, I think, to have like a really good sense of right and wrong, and also like intimidation and
Yeah.
theft. He doesn't really have any problem going around with like the hijinks that Scanlan gets into when they go walk around town together, and I think that sort of is a little that I think that lack of pure-heartedness does knock him down the himbo ranking
Right.
for me
I
again. He's
I'd
got the
say
beefy on lock,
oh
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
the person, yeah.
I'd say he could go as low as B tier just because it's like he's got everything else nailed, he's just not quite benevolent enough. I
hmm
think. So that's where I'm inclined to put him.
Yeah,
But
I would agree with you on that one. I think B, maybe C, but
yeah.
if we're both leaning B, we could put him there.
Yeah, I think that's good. Just
Hmm. I think you're gonna be very mad about this next one on
oh
the
no,
list.
let's find out what it is. Oh, come on, man. All right, chat. Let's find out what you all think about fucking Goofy.
Look. Goofy appeared on multiple other rankings of himbos, and I felt it was only right that we discuss him here in this arena of the mind that we have developed.
I mean, I guess. Um. All right. So Goofy, Disney's Goofy, the dog man. Um.
Not the dog, the
No,
dog
that's
man.
Pluto, the dog man. I. Okay.
I mean,
He's pretty dumb, I guess.
hmm
I refuse to believe that he is attractive to
he's not
anybody.
beefy.
So he's
He's
not.
losing points in the beef. I mean, like I guess compared to the chat is saying a lot. I'm getting a lot of S tier.
We're not putting him in the
No, we're
same
not putting him
ranking
in the
as
S tier.
fucking Kronk. We're not even putting him in the same
Um,
ranking as Disney's Hercules.
no, I think Goofy loses a lot of points on beefiness because he's just not. Even in the context of the universe, like he's not the beefiest character. But I mean, have you seen a very Goofy movie
Actually, I have not.
with Powerline when he sings "Eye to Eye"?
Oh, I've listened
Anyway,
to all the songs, but I haven't watched the movie.
yes, I would say his characterization in that movie actually makes a good case for him in terms of personality being a himbo. He sort of got the straightforward, like pure of heartness that we're looking for in his fervent desire to just like have a good relationship with his son and like he's always supportive. Um,
Chat has not slowed down since we put his name on the screen. No consistency.
yeah, as Chad is saying, he's a single father doing his best.
But is that
Um,
a himbo quality?
I would say it is tied in with many of the himbo qualities because it hints at a certain pure-heartedness and straightforwardness that we've been rewarding in other himbos on this list.
Well, okay,
Do I
pure-hearted,
think
sure, but like I don't think he is dumb of ass or strong. So I'm I'm inclined to put him like D tier at most, you know? Like he's a fine
mm,
character if you squint and specifically go with the only movie that gave him a character, but I'm not willing to put him anywhere near the same level as Joey Wheeler.
yeah, I think D tier is a safe place to put him. I wanted to discuss it because it's
Sure.
he's
Yeah.
on so I did so much research for this stream. Like I spent a full 5 hours Googling himbos, and Goofy is frequently listed as a himbo, so we had to discuss it, but I don't think he's a good himbo.
Yeah,
If you,
no. I think a lot of
yeah.
those tier lists are just like, you'll never
So
guess where I
much,
put Goofy on this tier list. Okay,
yeah,
let's
so
see.
much of the himbo's characterization is about the beefiness. Like, we can't undercut how important being beefy is, that
Right.
Goofy just loses so many points for that. He can't be above D tier.
Okay, so next up on the list, we have Andy from Parks and Rec, a show I have not watched. So,
Yeah. Andy is very goofy, very straightforward, very, very dumb, very incredibly dumb. He
mhm.
eats chili off of a frisbee and falls into a pit, and he plays guitar in a band called Mouse Rat.
Huh.
Um, he respects women,
Okay.
and the one point of like he's certainly, I think, the beefiest of the characters on the show, and he becomes beefier, but sort of for an external reason because
Oh,
Chris Pratt
yeah.
started playing Star-Lord, and they just sort of like explained it away as Andy has a throwaway line of like, yeah, I just stopped drinking beer and lost a bunch of weight. Um, so I'd maybe put him as like a solid C tier. I think he's got all the personality traits that we're looking for.
Mm.
You know, he's incredibly goofy and incredibly dumb. Um, and he's certainly beefy enough. I think he's
I think,
beefier
yeah,
than some
post
of
Star
the
Lord.
lower ranking gang.
Yeah, alright. C
Uh,
tier fine by me.
yeah,
Just scooch him
C
in there.
tier, sweet.
Yep.
We could maybe, I don't know. Have you seen the next one's show?
I saw 4 episodes of it once at 3 in the morning. I don't even know if that character was
Okay,
introduced by then. So
we'll
how about we
skip
move
to the
on to
next
the,
one.
yeah,
Yeah, because
the less
that was one of your
controversial.
polls, and I'm
Yeah.
interested to see what you have.
Well, the funny thing is, I haven't watched the movie this one's from either.
You picked this one.
I did, but that's because I know enough about it to know that Prince Edward from Enchanted is extremely himbo because that's pretty much the one of only 2 characters that actor gets typecast as.
That's very true.
He's
I
like
mean, there's no debate here.
no, I mean like
He's
he's
definitely a
got
himbo.
he looks like a perfect hero, but it's almost like he's too perfect, so he always gets cast as like the trope subversions or like he's the love interest's new boyfriend who's not gonna get the girl in the end, but he'll be real cool about it. Um, yeah, I've seen the gif where he's singing in Central Park and gets run down by bicyclists. That's really all he needs in my book.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean he's like Disney Prince beefy, so he's not the big guy character necessarily. So I wouldn't put him in like S or A tier, but he's probably a solid B or C, I'd say. I would
I
even
think
lean towards B.
we could put him in the A tier. Maybe there's more room up there. No, fine. I'll do it. I'll just shrink down Natsu. Um, scooch everybody else in. All right, make room, everybody. Prince Edward Enchanted with a really long name is coming in. Um,
You could probably just put Prince Edward, and I feel like it's covered.
I guarantee that there have been real historical Prince Edwards, and enough people come to this channel for history that they will be confused.
History in my OSP after dark?
It's more
Impossible.
realistic. All right,
Blue doesn't stay up this late.
get in there, Zagreus. Get in there, Troy from Community.
Um,
All right. Maybe if I just say Edward Enchanted.
yeah, that probably works.
Riveting content. All right, here we go. Boop.
Boop.
And shrink him down, squoze him in, and we will be good.
Yeah.
Sort of. Okay, hold on. Let me make a little more room. Uh,
Is graphic design your passion?
I never need to worry about this when I'm just a snarky voice on a Discord call. Get in there. Awesome. All right, no more B tiers. It's top or nothing.
I guess we can't have any B tier himbos anymore because we've run out of
We
the
ran out
himbo
of
chart.
room. Okay, here we go. This is a good one. A little tricky.
Fezzik from The Princess Bride.
Yeah, and we can just say Fezzik
Andre the
because...
Giant.
Oh wait, hold
Yeah,
on.
we can just say Fezzik.
Oh no, I broke my naming convention. I accidentally put the name in the name of the source that nobody can see. All right, Fezzik. He's big. He's kind of dumb.
Fezzik.
He's not
He's
that dumb,
beefy.
though.
He's kind. I'd say he's emotionally intelligent, but he's kind of dumb. Like,
yeah, a little bit.
you know.
Damn it, I think he is kind of a solid B tier.
I would say he's an A tier. I think he's a better himbo than you're giving him credit for.
I mean, that's fair.
He's got more of the beefy checked off than a lot of our B tiers do. And he's got the dumb covered. He's got the pure of heart covered. Like, and he drinks his respect women juice. He's always
does, yeah.
kind and supportive to Buttercup. Like, I think he's a solid pick for A tier at
I
least.
mean, that's fair. That's fair. It's been a while since I watched it, but I do remember nothing but positivity. What Fezzik
Yeah.
is that he's part of a stock trope together with Indigo Montoya. In that it is the classic big guy smart guy duology.
Mm-hmm.
Where one of the basically they take the elements of the 5-man band and they boil it down to two characters. So one of them is big and dumb, but very strong, and serves as a lancer to the smart guy who is small and leaderly. And the big guy often
Mm-hmm.
usually fills the role of the heart in that, so that they can be emotionally intelligent and supportive. And yeah, so yeah, I think he's a solid A tier. Oh, let's see.
Yes.
Did this one? Oh, wow. Is this the bottom of the list?
Yeah, we're on the last two.
Huh.
Have
I'm
you
gonna have
seen
to
the
add
next
one.
one's show? Oh, you have to add one? Excellent.
Well, because I thought we had one on here, but yeah. Um, I have actually seen the show
I
that this one is from. Let me just add
cool.
this in. I can't. I'll just put a little asterisk in there. Because the way you're supposed to spell this name is with a star in the middle.
Ah, yes.
This is Black Star from Soul Eater. He's
Lucky Blue Boy.
I'd
Yeah.
say he is dumb, but like in a shonen hero kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he is pretty small and noodly. He's like a child. Most of the characters are. But he is very strong. He's one of the powerhousey types. It's a fairly overpowered world in general, but I think he's definitely the team big guy, and he fits that role because he is not skilled at all in anything like magic-y or fancy. He's just really good
Nope.
at fighting physically. In fact, to the point
Yep.
where his complete lack of spiritual awareness is so strong that it keeps him safe from the madness-causing powers of the ultimate villain. Like, he literally can't feel it at all. It's very funny. Um,
Yeah, that's why I think he belongs on this list because there's just something about that mind blankness that is so quintessential to the himbo. Um, but
yeah,
I think he does lose some of the points like a lot of the other shonen characters do for kind of situational dumbness and
hmm
not quite being quite as beefy as we would expect from
I
a
agree.
quality himbo.
I'm willing to put him down as low as D tier, I think, because like
Yeah.
he's dumb, but he doesn't really he's not nice either. He's kind of a dick a lot of the
Hmm.
time. He's like arrogant, but because he's dumb, the arrogance causes some problems. So yeah, I'd say D tier at most, possibly even as low as E tier. Although I think we're reserving E tier for like the hall of not really a himbo, but not quite bad enough to deserve F tier.
Yes. We'll have to run through what the rankings all represent, like as our sign off, because I feel
Right.
like we've developed a bit of a pattern.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah, no, I would say he's a solid like maybe D tier.
right. And last on your overarching list, and we're gonna have to add a couple and maybe take a couple of requests from chat after this, but
Yes,
let
yes.
me just add a new source again. Himbo 34.
Jesus Christ.
I know, there's a lot. We got more than 34. Detective Gumshoe from the Ace Attorney series.
Oh man, this is one of my favorite himbos on the list, guys. I love this stupid detective man.
Mm.
Oh, look, have you played any of the Ace Attorney games?
No, but I have watched some things about them, and I also exist on the internet, so I know about
Yes, so you're familiar with the
at
objection.
least
Yeah,
the basics,
so
yes.
Gumshoe is introduced as sort of like the bumbling detective that will kind of be a supporting character to you throughout various cases. You're usually able to just sort of talk in a confusing enough way to him and he'll give you the information that you need. He wants to, he generally wants to help. The only times he really antagonizes you are when you're suspected of a crime, which to be fair, you're suspected of a crime at the time.
Mm.
Um, and he's pretty committed to trying to do the right thing and solve the cases he's on. So I think in terms of like pure heartedness, he scores pretty high. And compared to the other characters in the show, he's pretty beefy.
Mm.
Or in the game, he's pretty
Right,
beefy.
yeah.
But it's a game about lawyers, so that's a pretty low bar to clear. But he's definitely like the bruiser cop sort of archetype.
Right.
Um,
So, we've got Pure of Heart. How dumb of ass is he?
I mean, he's pretty dumb of ass.
All
He
right,
regularly
okay.
loses like evidence and like misses critical clues. I don't think he's quite S tier, but I would put him as maybe an A tier
That's
himbo.
fair.
Honestly,
Sounds good to me.
he's
Just scooch.
pretty darn up there.
Yeah, he seems, Pure of Heart, dumb of ass, bigger than the rest of the characters. Pretty solid. Oh,
Yeah,
excuse
pretty
me.
solid. If you when you look at him in the character lineup, you're like, oh, the himbo.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's always smiling, which I think is very endearing of him.
Yes, he's very positive. I mean, he gets like a little peeved at you sometimes, but no more than any other character in the game does. And to be fair, every character in the game gets very angry at you regularly. So
Mm,
his is usually just like mild annoyance that you might be interfering with the case more than anything else, which is very
that's
tied
fair.
into his intrinsic motivation. So I don't think it distracts from the smiling good-heartedness of the
Right.
himbo.
Now, I'm going to need to add in a character that chat has been bringing up and I have opinions on. Kazuma
Oh.
Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we mentioned him in the chat about this, but I'm not sure he ever made it onto the list.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Kuwabara. He's in this kind of weird space because he is the biggest member of the team. He
Hmm.
is pretty dumb of ass. He's not like really dumb, but there's a whole plot point early on in the show where he's going to be expelled unless he gets above like a 50% on an upcoming test, and this is going to be really tricky for him. So he's pretty dumb of ass. And he very much respects women, in part because he's got an older sister who somehow is like a scarier ass kicker than he is, despite him being the only one of them that has supernatural combat powers.
Oh, excellent.
And he's got this love interest who's just this like tiny Yukiona, and she's just so sweet, and he's so big and weird, and it's just adorable. Um, there's a bit where he's like winding himself up for a heroic sacrifice, and he's like, "Yeah, I've got like all my bones broken, but I can hold off this guy long enough to win this tournament." And then he spots her in the stands, and he's like, "Whoa!" and immediately gets a power up and beats the guy, and is like fully fine. And they're like, "How is he alive? What's happening?" So he's that kind of character. The one caveat is that in his introduction, he's kind of the dickhead rival character to the protagonist Yusuke, who is himself a dickhead at the beginning. They both undergo pretty extensive character development to improve away from this. But it is where the characters both start out, which I think somewhat diminishes their himbo-ness. Like they get to the point where you almost
Mm.
forget that they were both a couple of like brutish delinquents at the beginning of the show. And Yusuke undergoes character development by dying, and then coming back after proving himself a little bit. But Kuwabara just
Ah,
undergoes
yes.
character development by being really upset about Yusuke dying. So,
I mean, that's really one of the only two ways to have character development in a lot of anime from the 90s is to either die or be sad about a death, so that
mm-hmm.
checks out.
Yeah, I think he's also a little bit angrier than your average himbo. A lot of the rapport he has with the other characters is that him and Hiei, the actual team big guy, just by virtue of powerhouseness, are constantly sniping at each other. So I think
Mm.
he's it would be tricky to put him in the full like S tier. He's not as benevolent as all of the himbos up there. Um, but I think he'd be a pretty easy A tier, honestly.
Um, it's been
Oop,
a show, so that all tracks with my memory of the show. So I would
yeah,
say, yeah, hey, we could do an A tier poll here.
cool. Just pop him in the A tier. Let's see. Chat has also been yelling about Seuss from Gravity Falls. I think he counts ish.
Yeah, he's certainly beefy. He's definitely pure of heart,
Very pure of heart,
dumb
fairly
of
dumb of
ass.
ass. Yeah. Let's see. I think he is a fairly non-standard himbo if he is a himbo.
Mm-hmm.
In that he is, he is pure of heart, dumb of ass. He's not that beefy, and I do not believe we are meant to find him attractive. um, in that he
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
looks like a
he's
humanoid Patrick Star. But
yeah,
yeah.
it's a tricky space because he's definitely like the physically like just the largest character on screen in any given shot. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's beefy in the same way that like Kronk is supposed to be, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we can put him in the same tier as Kronk.
No.
But he is very sweet, and oh, he drinks that respect women juice. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'd say I don't know, as high as A tier, as low as B tier, somewhere in the middle.
Right on that spot in the line between like
Right
right
on the
underneath
line.
Fezzik and Knuckles where their space were named.
What a coincidence! Scooch. Oh, there he is. Perfect.
Amazing.
Incredible. All right. Well, we've exhausted our list and my last minute additions. Let's see what chat is yelling about now. Um,
Oh, chat is yelling so many things
so many
and so many
things.
times.
Hmm.
Tamaki from Ouran High School Host Club is not a himbo. He is way too much of a stick man.
Yeah, nobody in Oran Host Club is
No one in Ouran. I thought about putting Mori on the list, and I was like, you know what? No, I can't even.
nah.
I can't justify that.
Deku is not a himbo. Deku's
Deku
a
is too smart to be a
protagonist.
himbo.
Yeah, he's way
First
too.
of
That's
all,
his
he's
whole
a
power.
he's a
Well,
tiny child. Second, he have you seen how good he is at like one of the things that makes him such an endearing protagonist is he's actually quite analytical. And
yeah,
I know that it's a running bit in the show that he'll start muttering to himself whenever he's analyzing a situation. Everyone's like, why is he muttering to himself? But that is also what disqualifies him from being a himbo because that shows a certain level of like active intelligence that many of the characters on this list are lacking.
yeah. Chad has also brought up Vash the Stampede from Trigun.
Oh.
I'd say that he categorically does not count because he only pretends to be dumb. Uh, he is very pure of heart and he very much respects women, but he is so like he's smart and he's very very sad. So I don't think he can
Mm.
count. Especially in the
See,
manga where it's just so like tragic and depressing.
yeah. I've seen a few calls for Ford, another Travis Willingham D&D character.
Ford is too
Ford, I think, is
smart.
a borderline himbo. Yeah, he's the thing. Like, he's too smart to really be on the himbo tier list.
He eventually like
And
evolves into being kind of himbo when he takes those levels in Paladin. But like, no man, he's smart and he's tricksy. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I don't think he counts. Although it is
I don't
quite
think he's
funny.
beefy enough to be honest.
Yeah, that's the
He's a
thing.
half
Like
orc, yes, but like,
Travis keeps like early on before he takes those Paladin levels, like he's like, oh yeah, yeah, Ford. You know, he's like he's tall and he's kind of built, and Matt's like, not with that strength score, Buster Brown. So
yeah, Ford, not a himbo.
yeah,
He's towing the line. He gets kind of close to it, but I don't think he ever quite passes over.
yeah, not quite. Okay. Oh,
Man,
Captain
chat
Carrot is
full.
obviously a himbo, you guys. But he's kind of sneaky. That's the thing. He's too smart. He he doesn't act like it a lot of the time, but he really is. He looks like the perfect himbo, but it's kind of a sneaky. And he does respect
Mm.
women, but it takes him some character development before he can respect dwarf women because dwarves have this cultural mandate that all dwarves are male, even the female ones. And when some dwarves that come to Ankh-Morpork start presenting as female, it takes Carrot a little adjustment to stop being kind of a dick about that just because he's not used to it. So I'd say he's solid, but it's arguable enough, and there's no room in the top tier of the himbo tier list anyway. So
Yeah.
sorry.
All Might, also not a himbo. He puts on a personality that is very similar to a himbo when he is in his hero form, but again, that is an act, and
Yeah.
therefore I think that he is disqualified from actually being a true himbo because when he is Small Might, he notably lacks the beefiness
Yep.
and also notably lacks the like dumbness that we're looking for in our himbo qualifiers here.
Yeah, he's much too cynical, I think, and depressed.
Hmm.
Oh god, chat. This is, I mean, we can't just do all of these at all. I have seen Adora popping up a few times, and I don't
Yes.
think she quite counts. In that, I mean, she's got the beef, especially as Shira.
Hmm.
But she's not dumb, really.
Yeah, she's a jock.
Yeah, she's a jock. That's the thing. Jock is a separate archetype from Himbo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overlap, but guys,
Mhm.
Goku's already on the list. Come on, man. uh, I've seen Groose
Oh,
popping
man.
up a few times.
Huh.
I think the problem is Groose is basically just Kuwabara again.
Mm.
Up to and including starting off as like the dickhead bully and then turning into sort of a good guy. But he never really becomes that good of a guy. I mean, he's
Mhm.
okay, but I don't know. Yeah, it's tricky. God, it's just a wave of character names at this point. Ah,
Oh yeah.
Zagreus is also on the list. What are you doing, man? Oh no.
Gorgug Thistlespring, another Zach Oyama character.
I think he counts. Although
He counts. Yeah.
he is also
He's borderline.
he's another barbarian, which makes it tricky. I
Yeah.
don't know why people keep bringing up Inuyasha, who is explicitly malevolent in his introduction, and remains kind of dickishness throughout the entire show. So
Yeah. everyone keeps counting for that one dude from Haikyuu, and I know exactly which character from Haikyuu it is by looking at him, but I haven't actually seen any of the shows, so I
Yeah.
can't say if he's a himbo or not.
And the people
I
suggesting
think
that
it's
Elliot
Bokuto.
from Leverage constitutes, like, guys, no. Elliot will sometimes play the part of a himbo for a grift, but he is much too smart and frankly too malevolent, despite being an unconditional hero character.
Yeah, I think we need one last really good debate to kind of bring us
Mm,
home. Maybe run through what our categories ended up breaking down to,
right.
and then wrap up the stream because I do have to go to work in
Oh, God.
6 hours.
Ah! All right, all right, all right. I saw Poe from Kung Fu Panda in there.
That's, you know what? Let's
Let's do
examine
it.
that.
Let's do it. Just pop that sucker in there real quick.
Yeah.
Bam, baby.
Okay.
Almost.
Poe. You
Yeah.
know him, you love him, Jack Black himself. We've been, testing himbos in a few categories, and I feel like the best way to sort of bring this all to a head here is to walk through what categories Poe fulfills, what categories he might have some issues in.
Yeah.
In terms of beefiness, I feel like this is a pretty easy one to get through.
Yeah. He's physically large enough, and he remains panda shaped throughout the whole movie, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Dumb. Is he dumb? I think he's just kind of immature. But like,
Yeah, I go back and forth on this one
mm,
because, I think he's very simple, but I don't think that necessarily means that he's dumb.
and there is a
Like
whole
immature, I
like
think is a good word.
his whole arc is basically about how people, stereotype him and put him in this box,
Mhm.
and he's more than what people think he is. He is. I mean, also he becomes quite the ass kicker at the end of the first movie, and then remains an ass kicker for the next two movies, which is impressive. It would
Yes.
have been very easy to nerf him in the sequels and give him more things to study. And he fully respects women just so much. I love his friendship with Tigress so much.
Oh, yes.
I think the one thing that I'd say keeps him from being like a full S rank himbo is that he's kind of super insecure a lot of the time, and
Mhm.
that's a major arc for him, and he does improve every movie he develops and ends up in a better position than he was at the beginning. But I think that frequently it seems like the himbo is almost not self-aware enough to have that kind of arc. So
Yeah, I think Poe is suffering from a symptom that we've seen in a lot of our C tier himbos,
mm.
protagonist syndrome, where he does have to have an arc in order to be a compelling character, and therefore isn't quite simple enough to be an S tier himbo. But I think he is more of a himbo than like Disney's Hercules, Rick O'Connor,
right, yeah.
etc. I would put him maybe in the B tier because I think
I'll make some
he's
space.
certainly got beefy checked off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, and he's certainly got at least the impression of dumbness, or at least simplicity and straightforwardness, because he's a little bit smarter than a lot of the other himbos.
Yeah. I
But
think that Poe, he plays the part, but
mm-hmm,
sort of as a defense mechanism. Like, he's smart enough to
mm-hmm.
know when he's being insulted, and it always does hurt, which is very sad. So I think we
Yeah.
could put him in a solid B tier, in that he is just a little too smart to be the ideal himbo.
Yeah.
A little
Do you
too
think you
smart.
can fit him in there between Natsu and Knuckles?
I
There's
can
like a little
scooch him in here
gap.
between Knuckles and Seuss, actually. I think we're good.
Oh, excellent.
Alrighty, so starting from top or bottom? Shall we start
I'll
from
still
the
do a
Hall of
little bit.
Shame?
Should I put on my old announcer voice and do us a little read through of the himbo tier list rankings?
Sounds good.
Let me take a drink of water real quick to prep the old vocal cords.
Drink of water.
You know what? Screw you, Red.
Hey! I just repeated what you
Everybody
said. That's not a bad thing.
I am being roasted for an accent that I have little to no control over.
Barely a roast. You're fine. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Welcome to OSP After Dark, where we're discussing our himbo tier list. In the S tier, we have Karank, Scorpia, Jason from The Good Place, George of the Jungle, Sidon, Launchpad, Gallo, and Ricky Matsui. In the A tier, we have Thor, Alex Louise Armstrong, Soren, Gumshoe, Kirishima, David,
Gowry, damn it. It's Gowry. You know this.
Fezzik, and Kuwabara. Coming in our B tier is, of course, Bolin, Fred, Natsu, Knuckles, Poe, Seuss, Garog, Strongjaw, Trevor Belmont, Seahawk, Zagreus, Troy, and Edward.
Prince
Holding
Edward.
down the
Prince
fort in
Edward.
the
We
C.
gotta be specific, otherwise people will assume it's Twilight Edward, who doesn't fit anywhere on this list.
Absolutely not. Twilight. No, no, no. Oh. In the C tier, we have Disney's Hercules, Rick O'Connor, Goku, Buzz Lightyear, Joey Wheeler, Kristoff, and Andy from Parks and Recreation. The D tier, which is where a lot of our questionable himbos reside, is Troy Bolton, Brock, Goofy, and Black Star. And characters who don't quite qualify as himbos but aren't our problematic faves are sitting in the E tier, which is of course James from Pokemon, Sun Wukong, and Sailor Jupiter. And in the F tier, the dregs of Himbo Society, the characters who have done something so incredibly wrong that we had to put them at the bottom of the tier list are JFK from the Clone High version specifically, and Yamcha.
Incredible. That was terrifying, by the way. I didn't know you could do a spot on Watch Mojo lady.
Hi, what is it? Welcome to Watch Mojo. We're counting down the top 10
Oh,
himbos
God.
of all time.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no,
Number 10, Yamcha.
what you spent all of your time developing a very extensive talent for voice acting. I went the whole other direction. Was like, how many different announcer voices?
Terrifying.
Yeah, but this has been so fun. I have had
I
so much
agree.
fun.
Oh my god, this was the best. Like, wow. And we got like 5,000 people at peak hour. There's still 4,000 people watching. That's nuts.
Jeez, go to bed, guys.
Yeah,
Maybe it's all the
wow.
Aussies.
Oh, you know what?
Hello,
Probably.
Australia.
Welcome, Australians, to OSP. Woof. Terrifying.
Well,
Incredible.
incredible. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on this fun
Yeah.
adventure. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some more of these in the future.
Yeah, I think that was a
With
very
some more
successful
categories.
proof of concept for the OSP After Dark premise.
Yeah, I finally have a physical form because there's technically that plushie on the chair, so
Yeah.
Indigo exists in the OSP universe.
Indigo exists, and I gave you little headphones. I'm not sure they were
Oh.
fully obvious, but that's what they are.
Oh, it's so cute. I
It's
love
so
it so
cute.
much.
Yep, yep.
Oh.
And I left room for Blue if he manages to stay up late enough to join us one of these nights.
I would not bank on that.
me
I would
neither.
not take that bet.
Odds are extremely low.
Where, yes, you and I have very different sleep schedules from Blue and Sophia.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I'm gonna figure out how to end the stream on my end.
Nice,
And,
nice. I'm just
yeah.
gonna keep talking until we go offline.
All right. Well,
Sweet. Well, yeah.
yeah,
Goodbye.
I guess goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much